Chapter 2852. Lin Xian was struggling bitterly, resisting the soul attack of the great demon. Several figures appeared in other mysterious places of the world. Among them, an old voice appeared. Like a star, it descended in front of a huge mountain. Spiritual mountain. That's right, it's here. The old man revealed a smile. If someone was here and saw him, they would definitely exclaim. Especially those from Immortal Palace, because this old man was the old palace master of Immortal Palace, Xia Juyo. Spiritual Mountain was an extremely terrifying place. It was related to a great emperor, Donghua Great Emperor. An extremely terrifying existence had left behind a Dharma treasure in the Spirit Mountain. It wasn't any weaker than an extreme Dao weapon. At this moment, Xia Juyu's eyes flickered. The investiture of the gods should be in Spiritual Mountain. At the same time, several other figures flew out from the mysterious Reincarnation Mountain and floated to various places of the true spirit world. On the other side, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground was extremely nervous. The sacred lords, sect masters, grand elders, experts, and geniuses of the great sage sects had all gathered at the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Luckily, as an extreme Dao sacred ground, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground was large enough to accommodate so many people. This scene was even more lively than the previous Immortality Peach Banquet. However, no one was in the mood to talk. Everyone's face was filled with worry. Some of them even had blood on their bodies. No Flower, Dustless, the Great Xia Prince, Princess Divine Wind, and Ninely Prince all had blood on their bodies. They were all heavily injured. Heavens, it can't be. Even Dustless was heavily injured. He was one of the titled geniuses. It seemed like the Thousand Buddha Temple was also heavily injured. Queen Mother of the West, you must avenge us. The Five Elements Palace's people cried as they entered. Their holy lord had been directly killed. The Five Elements Sacred Lord had fallen. This was like a bolt from the blue, shocking all the martial artists. Not only the Five Elements Sacred Lord, but the Nine Firmament Sacred Lord was also shocked. He had fallen. The new 10,000 Thunder Sacred Lord's face was also pale. Luckily, he was still alive. The other Sacred Lords and Sect Masters were also heavily injured. None of them were in good condition. The only one who was unharmed was the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Because they weren't affected too much, what awaited them was a storm of attacks. Boom! Boom! The heavens and earth trembled. The sky was like a painting, trembling rapidly. Endless spiritual energy surged, and a terrifying aura surged. In the distance, the sky pressed down, causing all the cultivators to raise their heads and look up. Not good, the 10,000 ancient races. The 10,000 ancient races are here. At this moment, they were extremely terrified. Was the final battle about to begin? However, they couldn't fight back at all. Other than the sage, the other party also had the 10,000 dragons portrait. That was an extreme weapon. How could they resist it? After all, the human race had no lack of apex weapons. The Jade Lake's West Emperor Pagoda, the Gu family's Void Mirror, the Yi family's Celestial Emperor Cauldron, and the Skyscraper's Dragon Emperor Sword, Yao Guang's Dragon Pattern Cauldron, and Zhuli Dynasty's Zhuli Painting. It could be said that there were many extreme-grade weapons, but they couldn't use them at all, because the nest of 10,000 dragons was the first to activate the extreme weapons, cutting off their connection with the extreme weapons. Unless the other party went crazy and attacked with extreme weapons, without any regard for their lives. Only then would the other extreme weapons be activated and resurrected. Apart from that, it would be very difficult for them to use their extreme weapons again. This caused them to be at a disadvantage even before the battle began. Human ants, kneel down and accept your death. In the distance, dark cloud-like figures descended. The sky was filled with a black mass as countless ancient armies rushed over. They looked down like gods and demons. Killing intent surged from their bodies and pierced through the 9 heavens. It directly caused the peerless array formation below to rumble continuously. Are they all here? Very good. Just nice. I'll catch all of you in one fell swoop, so that I won't have to chase you all around. The sage of the nest of 10,000 dragons sneered. Behind him, the other dozen or so sages also emitted a cold aura. Divine chains of order danced in the sky, bringing with them a powerful pressure. Damn it! Are you really going to attack and kill us all? Do you really think that the human race is easy to bully? The Yi family patriarch roared angrily. The Gu family patriarch also snorted coldly. That's right. If forced into a corner, we'll fight to the death. We can use extreme weapons at all costs. If that's the case, you won't be able to gain any benefits either. Everyone, what can't we sit down and discuss? Must we make such a big fuss? Once the extreme weapons are used, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering. In the end, other than the Holy Land families with extreme weapons, the other factions will be annihilated. The 10,000 ancient races are no exception. Is this the outcome you want to see? The Queen Mother of the West also spoke in a deep voice. Sit down and talk. What's there to talk about? This piece of land originally belonged to us. The true spirit world was also controlled by us. It's just that we fell into a deep sleep, so you humans took advantage of us. Now we've revived and regained control of the entire world. If you humans retreat and become our slaves, we can give you a way out. The powerhouses of the Nest of 10,000 Dragons, Divine Phoenix Ridge, and Fire Chelan Cave shouted coldly. Other than that, there was nothing to discuss. Domineering, incomparably domineering. They didn't put the human race in their eyes at all. Damn it, let's fight it out. Some powerhouses gritted their teeth. They had never suffered such a thing. Let them become slaves? They might as well let them die. The others also roared angrily. In the sky, the 10,000 ancient races sneered. Fight it out with us? Do you have the qualifications? In a one-on-one fight, without using extreme weapons or holy weapons, you are not my match at all. A grand elder of the Five Elements Palace stood out. Their sacred lord had been killed by the other party. How could they endure this? They had to take revenge. In a one-on-one fight, with just you? I'll fulfill your wish. In the sky, a figure descended. Like a fiend god, he was tall and had a monstrous bloody light on his body. Behind him was a blood-colored moon that floated up and down. It was the primordial king of the Blood Moon clan. Come out, lowly human. I can kill you with one hand. The primordial king of the Blood Moon clan was very powerful. I'll kill you. The grand elder of the Five Elements Palace walked out. His robes fluttered, and the power of the five elements floated in front of him, forming a five elements mountain that crushed the void. This grand elder was also an invincible king. Moreover, he was a very powerful veteran invincible king. At this moment, he went all out without holding back and struck out with the power of the five elements. He activated the five elements mountain and quickly blasted it forward. The terrifying power was like a vast ocean, sweeping across the void and pressing forward. Reckless. Blood Moon Slash. The primordial king of the Blood Moon clan sneered as his bloodline power surged. With a wave of his arm, the blood-colored moon above his head spun rapidly, turning into a blood-colored long blade that directly slashed down. Puff! The Five Elements mountain was split in half. The Grand Elder of the Five Elements Palace was also split in half from the middle. Blood dyed the sky red. What? He was killed. Killed in one strike. No way. How could the difference be so big? Everyone was terrified, especially those from the Five Elements Palace. Their bodies were trembling. This was impossible. That was one of their Grand Elders. How powerful was he? But now he was killed by the other party in one strike. Moreover, the other party was not a saint at all. He did not even use a holy weapon, and was killed just like that. This scene caused everyone to fall into despair. The other sacred lords, sect leaders, Yi family patriarch, Queen Mother of the West, and the others all frowned. Chapter 2853. The Blood Moon clan's primordial king sneered disdainfully as he looked at the corpse on the ground. He looked forward, his ice-cold eyes like two blood-colored bolts of lightning, as he stared at the human cultivators in the Jade Lake Holy Lands. Who else is unconvinced? If you want to die, then come out. I'll do it. An expert from the All Beginnings Holy Land walked out. He was also an invincible king. Primal chaos energy revolved around his body, forming a primal chaos battle armor. The spear in his hand was formed from primal chaos light. He was extremely powerful. As he walked, he tore apart the sky and earth, causing the earth to tremble. It was clear that this was an extremely terrifying invincible king. Elder, do your best. Kill him. The disciples of the All Beginnings Holy Land crazily shouted. The other human cultivators also clenched their fists and paid close attention. Although the All Beginnings Holy Land wasn't an extreme Tao Holy Land, it was still an extremely terrifying Holy Land. The primal chaos energy they cultivated had a great origin and was incomparably terrifying. Thinking about it, they should be able to kill him. The primal chaos energy was indeed a mystical ability. Unfortunately, you haven't cultivated it to perfection. The Blood Moon clan's primordial king coldly snorted in disdain. In the next instant, the blood-colored moon above his head revolved once more, turning into a blood-colored saber that slashed down. This scene was exactly the same as before. Thus, the hearts of the human cultivators leaped to their throats. Buzz, it was the primal chaos spear. With a furious roar, the All Beginnings Holy Land's expert waved the spear in his hand. It turned into a beam of primal chaos light that flashed out. The void rumbled as a beam of divine light soared into the clouds, illuminating the 9 heavens and 10 earths. An unimaginable power surged out, causing everyone to tremble. How powerful! As expected of the primal chaos energy, it was absolutely powerful. Everyone cried out in alarm. The two energies collided in the sky, creating a sonorous sound that tore through the void. It had been blocked. It had been blocked by the blood-colored moon. When the All Beginnings Holy Land's cultivators saw this scene, they all cheered. The All Beginnings Holy Land's expert also sighed in relief. The other party was only SOSO. Did he really think that he could block his attack? Suddenly, the All Beginnings Holy Land's expert's body trembled. Fear appeared in his eyes, because a voice had sounded behind him. Damn it! He wanted to turn around, but before he could do anything, a hand reached out and shattered his primal chaos battle armor, then grabbed his heart and ripped it out. Bang! The palm pierced through his body and crushed his heart. Pung! The body of the All Beginnings Holy Land's expert was torn apart. The one who attacked was an expert from the Blood Moon clan. Although his opponent had blocked his first attack, he was still killed by the second attack. Killing with one strike, there was no chance of survival. This scene made the people of the Jade Lake sacred ground despair. How could he be so strong? In 2 moves, he killed another invincible king. Moreover, he was the incomparably powerful invincible king. Could it be that the 10,000 ancient races were so heaven-defying? Was there no one who could contend against them? Damn it, I don't believe it. The 4 symbols' sacred lord stepped forward. He possessed the power of the dragon elephant, which was extremely terrifying. With a stomp of his foot, a million-li-long crack was formed, about to stomp the entire thing in half. Let me do it this time. Another divine shadow descended from the sky. This person was similar to a giant. His body was covered in earth-like patterns. He was a true member of the stone race. This was the stone race's primordial king. Both of them stood out. Both of them were invincible kings who specialized in close combat. At this moment, their confrontation was truly eye-catching. Dragon Elephant Divine Fist. The 4 symbols' sacred lord roared and brandished his fists. His fists transformed into dragon elephants that danced in the sky, crushing everything in their path. How terrifying! As expected of a sacred lord-level king, he was much stronger than the other invincible kings. The human cultivators exclaimed repeatedly. The eyes of the primordial kings also flickered. However, the stone race's primordial king only sneered in disdain. Today, I will show you what power is. Buzz! Mysterious blood-colored patterns blossomed on his body as he activated his bloodline power. With a loud roar, he stretched out his palms, covering the sky as he grabbed at the space in front of him. Destroy! The stone hands grabbed the dragon elephant in the sky and forcefully pulled. The dragon elephant let out a mournful wail as it was torn apart. Not only that, but this astonishing power passed through the dragon elephant and directly affected the 4 symbols' sacred lord. With a bang, the 4 symbols' sacred lord's arm trembled violently like a piece of cloth before exploding. The 4 symbols' sacred lord screamed as he flew backward, half of his body shattered. Damn it! The 4 symbols' sacred lord roared and retreated into the Jade Lake sacred ground like a shooting star. His face was extremely pale. The stone race's primordial king sneered in disdain at this scene. Trash! He spat out these two words. Everyone was shocked, and their expressions were ugly. Even a Sacred Lord level expert had been defeated. He was no match for the other party. In fact, he could not even block a single move. These people were simply too powerful and terrifying. The stone race was not an ordinary race. They were one of the most ferocious races among the primordial kings. Moreover, this primordial king bloodline power was simply too strong. The four symbols Sacred Lord's defeat was not unjustified. A living fossil spoke in a deep voice. They knew that it was not that the four symbols Sacred Lord was weak, but that the other party was simply too strong. He had far surpassed the Sacred Lord level. Damn it, ill attack. An expert from the Dao-E sacred ground walked out. However, the primordial king snorted coldly. Lowly humans, you are simply no match for us. There was no need to attack one by one. It was better to fight to the death. In the sky, the 12 sages released divine chains of order that pierced through the ground. The primordial kings were also eyeing covetously. They were prepared to end the battle quickly and not waste any more time. In the next moment, the 12 sages attacked. The azure dragon beneath their feet spat out another ball of light that blasted onto the supreme array formation. Instantly, the array formation shattered, forming a huge black hole. Countless primordial kings charged in. Damn it, let's fight to the death. On the human side, the Sacred Lords and Sect Masters also roared angrily. They knew that they could no longer retreat. They could only fight with their backs against the wall. These people also attacked. At this moment, they did not hold back. Even the Yi family patriarch, the Gu family patriarch, the Queen Mother of the West, and the others joined the battle. In an instant, an earth-shattering battle erupted. At Black Demon Cliff, Lin Xian was still screaming in pain. He was currently enduring great pain. In his mind, a black mass of Mo-Chi transformed into a ferocious figure that seemed to want to destroy his soul. It wanted to take his body for itself. Nine Yang Divine Body, Dragon Sword Soul, ha 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 ha. After obtaining your body, everything will be mine. In my previous life, I was unable to become a great emperor. However, this time, with the Nine Yang Divine Body and Dragon Sword Soul, I will definitely become a great emperor. Moreover, I can go even further. He laughed wildly as if he had gone mad. Damn it, go to hell. Lin Xian roared crazily as he mobilized the Dragon Sword Soul to fight against it. The demonic figure sneered. The Dragon Sword Soul is powerful, but you can't unleash its full power. Therefore, you can't hurt me at all now. If you die, I will make good use of this body of yours. The demonic figure let out a sinister voice. Lin Xian roared crazily. In his mind, a golden vortex spun, forming a pair of golden eyes that looked down at the front like a god. Chapter 2854. The golden eyes became more and more mysterious, and they even began to burn the black figure's soul. The black figure screamed and struggled frantically. Damn it, what kind of eyes are these? How can they be a threat to me? He couldn't believe it. In the next moment he screamed in horror. Could it be those eyes? Damn brat, you actually have those eyes. He screamed crazily, as if he had encountered something terrible. I don't believe it. So what if you have these eyes? You're too weak. You're no match for me. He pounced forward. But in the next moment, he screamed and flew backward. Because his soul had been ignited. His soul imprint was already broken. Now that it had been ignited, his injuries were even worse. Moreover, there was a dragon sword soul around him, eyeing him covetously and attacking him from time to time. This caused the demonic figure to be extremely miserable. With a roar, he wanted to leave Lin Xian's mind. But how could Lin Xian let him leave? Lin Xian had suffered so much pain before, and now he wouldn't let him go. Humph. Lin Xian crazily circulated his soul power, without any regard for his life. He even mobilized the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword spirit roared, and gradually merged with the golden eye. The dragon sword soul turned into a giant dragon, and the golden eyes became the eyes of a giant dragon. Buzz! An even more violent force erupted and instantly enveloped the demonic figure. Damn it, it's impossible. You can't kill me. He screamed crazily, but wisps of white smoke were emitted. In the end, he turned into a cloud of black smoke, and was completely destroyed. Phew! It was finally over. Lin Xian also fell to the ground with a plop and closed his eyes. This scene gave the dark red mystical dragon a fright. He quickly flew over. "Kid, are you alright?" Seeing Lin Xian's pale face, he was worried. It seemed that he had fainted. He dripped dragon blood into Lin Xian's body. At the same time, he took out a treasure for soul recovery and fed it to Lin Xian. Then he waited patiently at the side. Lin Xian finally opened his eyes under the effects of dragon blood and soul recovery treasures. The dark red divine dragon asked, "Brat, is that you? Or was it that devil?" Lin Xian smiled and said weakly, "Of course it was me. I killed that guy." "That's great." The dark red dragon heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, a faint voice was heard once again. "I didn't expect you to be able to destroy the soul of a great demon. Looks like I really underestimated you. Who is it?" The dark red dragon was scared out of its wits. Lin Xian's face turned even paler. Heavens, could it be that he wasn't dead yet? Then the voice said, "Don't be afraid. This time, it really is my soul." The Nine Sun Sword Saint's soul imprint said weakly, "I fought with the great demon, and in the end we perished together. It's just that the two of us didn't die completely. His body was destroyed, and my body was left behind because of the Nine Yang divine body. His soul entered my body and fought with me for thousands of years. In the end, both of us intertwined and fused with each other. Just like that, after tens of thousands of years, we became what you saw just now. If you didn't appear, I'm afraid that in another few hundred years, the two of us might have disappeared. However, if you appeared and he succeeded in taking over, it would be another disaster. But fortunately, you managed to destroy her." Hearing this, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He took out a few more heavenly treasures from the black earth and swallowed them to recover his soul. He drank a few drops of spirit liquid. In the next moment, he felt that his soul had recovered quite a bit. Then he asked, "Senior, what should I do to save the darkness this time?" The Nine Sun Sword Saint's soul sighed. "I'm too weak to help you now. Even if I go out, I can't do anything. However, my soul is weak, but my body can help you." "How can my body help you?" Lin Xian asked. He felt that there seemed to be a way, so he couldn't wait to ask. "Enter my divine body, and use this large success Nine Sun divine body to obtain his power. Perhaps I can help you." "You mean use this body?" Lin Xian was extremely shocked. This body was a large success Nine Sun divine body. How terrifying would a large success Nine Sun divine body be? It was absolutely unimaginable. One had to know that the Nine Sun Sword Saint had died tens of thousands of years ago, but his body was still not completely destroyed. Even a terrifying existence like the great demon's body was gone, but the Nine Sun divine body was preserved. Although only a skeleton was left, one could imagine how heaven-defying it was. But how would he enter it? Lin Xian was puzzled. Could it be that his soul would leave his body and enter this skeleton? He really couldn't understand. Moreover, after entering, would he be able to control this body? In that case, wouldn't he be invincible in the future? It's not as heaven-defying as you think. The Nine Sun Sword Saint's soul said weakly, "You must cooperate with my soul in order to enter it. Once you use it, my soul will quickly dissipate and eventually disappear. At that time, you won't be able to use the power of a large success divine body. So that's how it is." Lin Xian finally understood. He asked in a deep voice, "Senior, how long can your soul last?" From the looks of it, the Nine Sun Sword Saint's soul was very weak. He probably wouldn't be able to last long. He didn't want the Nine Sun Sword Saint to die right after leaving. There wasn't much time left, but it was still enough to intimidate the 10,000 ancient races. Moreover, if you enter my large success divine body, without using any divine abilities, just the strength of my physical body is already very strong. Using the strength of my physical body won't exhaust my soul. Only when I use divine abilities will my soul be exhausted. Moreover, the degree of exhaustion will be different depending on the degree of use. The Nine Sun Sword Saint quickly explained. Lin Xian understood after hearing that. He took out some natural treasures from the black earth and said, "Senior, these are some soul recovery tonics. They are all natural treasures. Take some." He had taken out all of his soul recovery treasures. He did it so that the 9 Sun Sword Saints' soul could last a little longer. He knew that the 9 Sun Sword Saints' injuries were too serious. Moreover, after tens of thousands of years, it was impossible for him to be revived. All he could do was to extend his life. It was useless. He wouldn't be able to extend it for more than a few days. The 9 Sun Sword Saint shook his head. Logically speaking, I'm not a great emperor. It's impossible for me to live for so long. Even my soul can't. It's just that my soul and that great model's soul fused together, and some changes occurred. That's why I could survive for so long. However, now that the great demon's soul has been destroyed, I won't be able to survive for long. Despite saying that, Lin Xian still handed all of the treasures over to Lin Fan regardless of the consequences. Chapter 2855. Senior, there's no time to lose. Let's hurry up and fuse, Lin Xian said anxiously. The situation outside was very urgent. He could no longer contact Morong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu. They must have encountered danger. He had to leave quickly. All right, the 9 Sun Sword Saints' soul said after consuming those natural treasures. The process of fusion is very difficult. Moreover, it's very painful. It's even more painful than cultivating the 9 Sun Divine Body. You have to fuse with the skeleton. I know that no matter how difficult it is, no matter how painful it is, I have to give it a try. Lin Xian's eyes were resolute, and his voice was sonorous. Following the 9 Sun Sword Saints' soul's guidance, Lin Xian began the fusion. The process was too painful. Even Lin Xian was screaming crazily. The dark red dragon felt its scalp go numb. Damn it, what kind of experience is this? It did not know. It shrunk its neck and shrank to the side. The fusion process was not slow. In fact, it was very fast. However, it lasted for several hours. Finally, Lin Xian's body fused with the skeleton of the 9 Sun Divine Body, forming a golden light. It was too bright and too bright. It was so bright that the dark red dragon could not open its eyes. It was like a sun god, emitting a myriad of rays of light. Ruffian dragon, let's go, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. The golden light on his body dimmed a little. However, it was still incomparably bright. The dark red dragon raised its head and looked. It was stunned. For a moment, it really thought that the 9 Sun Sword Saint had come back to life. However, when it saw Lin Xian's blurry face in the golden light, it heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this was not a possession. It was still that brat. Let's go. The dark red dragon nodded. Its body flashed, and it arrived beside Lin Xian. Lin Xian soared into the sky. Everywhere he passed, the black demonic aura receded like the tide. In the next moment he stomped his foot, and the void cracked open. Endless light spread out from under his feet, as if the sun had exploded. A beam of golden light spread out from under his feet, and surged into the distance, turning into a golden dragon. Like a divine bridge, it carried him and flew out of the Black Demon Cliff. Outside the Black Demon Cliff, the 5 Archean kings were still waiting there, and there were hundreds of Archean creatures around them. Their auras were strong, and every single one of them was a powerful being. At this moment, these people were working together with the formation to seal off Black Demon Cliff completely. Suddenly, these ancient life forms frowned and looked into the distance. The 5 archaic kings also opened their eyes. They sat cross-legged in the void, and their eyes were as bright as divine lamps. There was a situation. They were transmitting their voices to one another. Sure enough, at the Black Demon Cliff ahead, Black Demon Chi rolled and spread to both sides. Something was coming out. These people were extremely surprised. In the next moment, they saw a golden light fly out from the Black Demon Cliff and turn into a giant dragon divine bridge that crawled in the sky. What was that? These people looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Could it be that the brat was about to come out? Or was it something else? They did not know, but they were not afraid. There were 5 Archean kings here, and their strength was heaven-defying. Be careful, that brat might be coming out, the 5 Archean kings said coldly. The others also had grave expressions on their faces. Sure enough, in the next moment, a golden figure walked out from the golden path. He walked very slowly, but in a few steps, he came out of the Black Demon Cliff from a very far place. Who are you? Seeing this figure covered in golden light, These ancient life forms were puzzled. One of the Archean kings even snorted coldly. The aura emitted from the other party made them extremely uncomfortable. Is he coming out? What a fast speed! The golden figure muttered to himself in a low voice. In the next moment, he swept his gaze in all directions and snorted coldly. Sure enough, he's still here. How reckless! What is that brat? One of the Archean kings screamed. His eyes were painted with silver flames. And he finally saw the situation inside the golden light. It's that brat. That's right, it's him. The dragon beside him is still there. It's that brat. How did he become like this? Everyone was shocked. The other party's aura seemed to have become much more tyrannical. No matter how tyrannical he is, he will still die facing us. The 5 Archean kings laughed sinisterly, and one of the silver figures walked out. He was the Archean king of the silver lightning race. At this moment, silver lightning surrounded his body, and there were even silver flames jumping, forming a lotus flower that shone behind him. Brat, I didn't expect you to come out so quickly. You're really impatient. Could it be that you can't stay in there any longer? Don't worry, you won't be able to survive outside. Even if you kneel and beg for mercy, I won't let you go. Since you dare to kill the prodigy of the silver lightning race, I will make your ending extremely miserable. The Archean king of the silver lightning race said in a sinister voice. He swore that he would torture the other party first before killing him. Then he would send him to the nest of 10,000 dragons. Buzz, the primordial king of the silver lightning race, shone brightly. He stretched out his hand, and silver lightning shot into the sky. It was as if a lightning beast had been resurrected, and it directly enveloped Lin Xian. In the next moment it grabbed Lin Xian. Ha ha ha, these people laughed proudly. What central emperor? What young prodigy? In front of them he was still an ant. That's right. How could a mere human warrior be compared to their lord? These Archean creatures laughed loudly. Bang! Suddenly, an earth-shattering sound rang out. That large silver palm smashed open, and light flew in all directions. The Archean king of the silver lightning race roared crazily. Blood dyed the sky red, and his palm was torn into pieces. You want to catch me? Do you have the ability? Lin Xian snorted coldly. Damn it, how is this possible? How could you become so powerful? The Archean king of the silver lightning race was stunned. The other Archean creatures were also shocked and in disbelief. The other party actually came out and injured the Archean king. This was unbelievable. One had to know that no matter how powerful the other party was, he was only a young prodigy. Even if he was powerful, he would at most have about 27,000 to 28,000 Archean power. But the Archean king had 50,000 Archean power. The gap between the two sides was too big. A primordial king could squash these young geniuses to death with a single finger. But now, the ant in their eyes had injured the Archean king. Damn it, impossible, I don't believe it. What did you use? Sacred weapon? The Archean king of the silver lightning race roared crazily. The silver stores in the sky regrouped and formed his arm. Buzz. He reached out his palm, grabbed a silver longsword and charged over. Go to hell, brat. No matter what you use, you won't be able to defeat me. He was really mad. He couldn't tolerate being injured by an ant. He wanted to split the other party in half first, and leave the other party with one breath. The silver greatsword flickered with incomparable lightning as it slashed down from the sky. This attack was absolutely terrifying. No one in the younger generation could resist it. Lin Xian looked at the great sword and sneered disdainfully. He clenched his hand into a fist and punched out. It was simple and direct without any fancy moves. With a bang, the silver greatsword was shattered into pieces, turning into lightning that scattered in all directions. Then, Lin Xian punched the Archean king of the silver lightning race again. Puff! Chapter 2856. What? Killed? That was impossible. The other primordial kings and primordial creatures were all stunned when they saw this scene. They were stunned in the void. How was that possible? That was a primordial king. He was extremely powerful, but now he was killed by a single punch, and by a young descendant of the human race. They could not believe this scene. Damn it, this kid is strange. Hurry up and kill him. The other primordial kings roared. The other primordial creatures also charged over crazily. Was this the power of a greater success divine body? Lin Xian looked at the terrifying figures around him. He did not move at all. Instead, he stood in the void. He lowered his head and looked at his hands. His eyes flickered. It was too powerful. The power contained in this great success divine body was too terrifying. He did not use any magic at all in that punch just now. Just the strength of his physical body was enough to kill a primordial king. It was really shocking. It seemed that he could fight against a sage. Lin Xian was shocked. Don't worry, kid. Although he has been dead for many years, this divine body can't unleash its full power. However, the remaining power can still fight against a sage. It won't be a problem for you to kill a sage. The 9 Sun Sword Saint's soul said weakly. Hearing this, Lin Xian was even more shocked. Could he kill a sage? He clenched his fists, and a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. Great. This way, he would have a chance to stop the dark turmoil. While Lin Xian was thinking about these things, the surrounding primordial creatures were still charging over. The other 2 primordial kings also charged over quickly. They held terrifying ancient treasures in their hands that tore through heaven and earth. A terrifying light enveloped Lin Xian. Go to hell, brat! Boom! Lin Xian waved his fists, and they were like suns that blasted in all directions. The bodies of the dozens of archaic life forms that were charging over were shattered into pieces with a loud bang. Then, they were enveloped by the 9 Sun divine fire, burned, and turned into nothingness. They did not even have time to scream. The ancient treasures in the hands of the 2 primordial kings also cracked in half with a bang. The 2 of them were also sent flying. Their bodies, which were covered in cracks, exploded with a loud bang. No. The 2 of them screamed crazily, and their eyes were filled with fear. They did not expect the other party to be so terrifying. A single strike had shattered both of their bodies, making it impossible for them to reassemble. Damn it, run. There must be something wrong with this kid. Hurry up and report it to the patriarch. Their 2 souls escaped as if they had gone mad. However, they did not take more than a few steps before they shattered with a loud bang. The reason for that was because not only had Lin Xian's fist destroyed their bodies, but it had also completely extinguished their souls. Not good run. The other 2 Archean kings, and the surrounding Archean creatures felt their scalps going numb upon seeing this. Their eyes were filled with fear as they turned around and ran into the distance. Now they were no longer as arrogant as before. Previously, when they surrounded this place, they thought that they could easily capture the other party. But now, they wished they could grow a pair of wings and quickly escape from here. As for capturing him, they didn't even dare to think about it. The other party was simply too powerful. Killing a primordial king was no different from squashing an ant. How were they supposed to fight against him? You want to leave? Stay. Lin Xian snorted coldly as a golden light suddenly erupted from his body. It transformed into a divine rainbow that carried terrifying flames and completely enveloped the entire sky. Boom! 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 That was the 9 Suns divine fire formed by a greater mastery divine body. Even a sage would not dare to fight against it, let alone these primordial creatures. Soon, the 2 primordial kings and hundreds of other primordial creatures screamed in the fire. Their bodies were ignited, and their souls were burning. It was impossible to extinguish the fire. In the end, all of the primordial creatures were reduced to ashes and disappeared. The 2 primordial kings were not spared either. In an instant, all of the primordial creatures were killed. All of this happened in a few moves. Is it over? The dark red dragon was dumbfounded. He did not expect Lin Xian to have such terrifying means after fusing with the 9 Suns Sword Saint's greater mastery divine body. He was not inferior to a sage at all. Lin Xian took a deep breath and said to Ruffian Dragon, "Let's go to the Jade Pool." Then, he turned into a ray of golden light and wrapped around the dark red dragon. He directly pierced through the void and flew quickly in the direction of the Jade Pool. At this moment, the Jade Pool was in an extremely tragic state. The void split open, the earth sank, and a terrifying sea of blood surged in the surroundings. It was a scene of destruction. The human race's cultivators from the Great Sage Sect and the 10,000 ancient races army were fighting fiercely. Their momentum shook the sky. It was extremely miserable. In the sky, the primordial creatures sneered. Terrifying claws with terrifying bloodline power descended from the sky. Ancient treasures emitted terrifying auras as they attacked. On the human clan's side, there were warriors falling at every moment. Some were young disciples, and there were also experts of the older generation. Lowly humans stopped struggling. The sage's voice sounded in the sky. You are just ants in front of us. You have no chance of resisting. This voice carried a monstrous divine might, causing the human race's cultivators to tremble. They could not help but want to kneel down. Another sage's voice sounded. Now put down your weapons, kneel on the ground, and welcome us. You can get a way out. Otherwise, only death awaits all of you. Think it through obediently. Otherwise, the human race will be exterminated. An even more ferocious voice sounded. In the sky, divine chains of order pierced through the surroundings. Lowly humans die. Endless laws danced in the air. A sage had attacked and killed 3 sect leaders. This scene made all the human race's cultivators despair. Damn it, where are our sages? Many people gritted their teeth and roared crazily. The patriarchs of the Yi and Gu families said that they were fighting in the outer realm. That's right. The human race had sages. They had also attacked and fought with the primordial sages. However, the battle between the sages happened in the outer realm. They could not see it. However, occasionally, a piece of law would tear down from the sky, causing a terrifying scene that terrified them. The level of battle was probably not something they could imagine. Lowly humans, don't be wishful thinking. So what if you have sages? You are no match for us at all. These primordial kings sneered. They were all sages, but sages were also divided into levels and strengths. How could the other party's sages be compared to their primordial sages? In this battle, the human race would definitely lose. They would once again rule the land. Boom! Suddenly, in the endless 9 heavens, a rumble sounded, and 10,000 bolts of lightning descended. Chapter 2857. Not good. Seeing that drop of blood fall, all the figures below screamed in horror. Not only the humans, but the ancient creatures also fled crazily, because the blood here was too terrifying. A single drop could crush the heavens. Sacred blood. This was the blood of a sage. They screamed crazily. Had the outcome of the battle above been decided? As everyone fled, they looked up at the sky. In the sky, more and more sacred blood gathered and shattered the void, forming a terrifying nomological energy that danced in the air. No one dared to approach. Some of the ancient creatures and human cultivators that retreated too slowly were directly torn apart by this energy. Boom! A figure descended from the sky. It was an old man. Damn it! No! The people of the Dao One sacred ground roared crazily. This was because this was one of their sacred ninjas. They just didn't expect their sacred ninjas to be injured. The people of the human race were filled with despair. The ancient creatures, on the other hand, raised their heads and laughed. Ha 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 ha, did you see that? Even if you're all sacred ninjas, you can't do it. That's right. You lowly humans are no match for us at all. Hurry up and kneel down, and well, spare your lives. Otherwise, you can only go to hell. Crazy laughter sounded, and the faces of the humans turned pale. The sacred ninjas in the sky floated down. He wasn't dead, only injured. However, at this moment his expression was incomparably ugly. Boom! At this moment, the void split open, and another figure fell down. This time, it was the ancient creature's turn to have ugly expressions. Because the sacred ninjas, who fell this time, was their sacred ninjas. This sacred ninjas also had blood on his body as he shattered the void. What was going on? Their sacred ninjas were injured. Damn it! These ancient creatures roared crazily. On the other hand, the humans regained hope. In the next moment, several figures flashed quickly, divided into 2 factions. On the 10,000 ancient races side, there were 12 sacred ninjas with cold expressions. On the human side, there were only 7 sacred ninjas. Among them, 4 were injured. On the sacred ninjas side, 3 were injured. In comparison, the humans were still at a disadvantage. Moreover, what was even more terrifying was that the 10,000 dragons portrait had not been used yet. That was an extreme weapon. Once it was used, the sacred ninjas wouldn't be able to resist at all. Hurry up and kneel down and submit. You have no chance of winning. The 12 saints were like gods looking down on the earth. On the human side, their faces were gloomy. Among them, the saints of the human race had a solemn expression. The other sacred masters, sect masters, and young warriors all had pale faces. His face was filled with despair. Could it be that he was really going to lose? The head of the Yi clan snorted coldly. What a joke. If you have the ability, then kill us all. Otherwise, we would never give in. Kill. One of the Yi family's grand elders also roared and charged forward. Golden aura surged from his body as he soared into the sky like a golden god of war. In the sky, the saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons sneered in disdain. He pointed out with a finger and directly killed the Yi family's grand elder. Puff! The supreme elder's body was pierced through, and he fell to the ground, twitching nonstop. He was no longer breathing. Reckless ants. If you're still not convinced, I'll use my extreme Dao weapon to kill all of you. The saints of the nest of 10,000 dragons were like gods and demons. Damn it, he really deserved to die. All the human ancient martial art practitioners roared madly. Could it be that they were really going to be killed here today? Even the 7 saints had ugly expressions on their faces. The other party had many more saints than them. If they continued to fight, they would probably die as well. Quickly retreat to the Jade Lake. The Queen Mother of the West shouted coldly, and quickly retreated with everyone. Morong Qingcheng's small face was cold. Her white clothes were stained with blood, and there were a few terrifying cracks on her body. They were caused by the ancient paragon's sneak attack. The 1-pound Shinjingqiu was also injured. It wasn't just the two of them. Yi Wudao, Wuchen, No Flower, Gu Santong, and the others were all injured. It could be said that they were still very heaven-defying, that they hadn't been killed in the battle. So what if they retreated to the Jade Lake? Did they think that a mere Jade Lake sacred ground could protect the lives of ants like them? In the sky, the ancient creatures looked at this scene and sneered. They didn't move at all. Azure Dragon Break. The 12 saints formed seals with their palms. The azure dragon under their feet absorbed the energy of millions of miles, and emitted a beam of light that rushed down. It directly caused the Jade Lake sacred ground to tremble. Many people inside vomited blood, and even the saints were injured. After all, this was an attack on the level of a saint. Moreover, it was a joint attack of 12 saints. It was caused by the use of a powerful god's eye, the azure dragon under the other party's feet. These human experts had already divined that it was not an ordinary thing. It was probably the corpse of the dragons after their deaths. It contained a mysterious power. I'll give you one last chance. Surrender or die. The primeval saint's expression was cold, and his eyes were filled with biting cold killing intent. He had already lost his patience. These people were so reckless. Since these people dared to resist, he didn't mind completely annihilating them. After all, the 10,000 ancient races had plenty of slaves if they wanted. On the human side, the 7 saints roared and attacked again. After an earth-shattering battle, they retreated again. This time, the 7 saints were all injured. One of them was even almost killed. This caused everyone to be extremely terrified. Not only that, the Yi family patriarch, the Gu family patriarch, and the Queen Mother of the West were all injured. Yi Wudao and the other young geniuses were even more seriously injured. The human experts were on the verge of death. Unless they used their so-called trump cards to awaken the sleeping saints, they would have a chance of fighting. Otherwise, the human race would be completely wiped out. What a bunch of trash. We haven't even used our extreme weapons, and you're already on the verge of dying. Don't worry, we won't give you a chance to live. In this lifetime, you won't be able to wake up those sleeping saints. No. The Yi family patriarch roared into the sky, his voice tearing. Could it be that they were really going to be destroyed here? They were the families of great emperors. However, their trump cards couldn't be revived. With their current strength, they couldn't compete with the nest of 10,000 dragons at all. The Gu family patriarch also roared. Damn it, despicable. What was this? If you have the ability, let us use our trump cards and fight with all our strength. The nest of 10,000 dragons is no match for the Gu family at all. They were also great emperor families, and also had extreme weapons. But now they couldn't use them at all. How could they not be aggrieved? In their opinion, if they used all their trump cards, they could definitely contend against the nest of 10,000 dragons. And these 10,000 ancient races didn't dare to be arrogant in front of them. Chapter 2858. Just you wait. Once I, the Dragon Prince, become the great emperor, I will confiscate all the treasures left behind by the remote antiquity families. Now you can all die. In the sky, the 12 sages formed hand seals again, and a vast aura flew out from their fingertips. This time, the attack was even more violent. The 12 sages attacked together, and it really had the power to destroy the world. Under this attack, the Jade Lake would probably be destroyed. It's over. Are we all going to die here? The sacred lords and patriarchs were filled with despair. The young disciples couldn't withstand the sage aura, and were directly pressed to the ground. The Yi family sacred lord, the Gu family patriarch, and the other sages all had ugly expressions. They roared crazily, ready to attack regardless of the cost. Among them, the 7 sages went crazy. They didn't care about anything and attacked together again. You want to die? I'll fulfill your wish. The primordial sages sneered, and also soared into the sky to fight in the outer realm again. It's useless. Stop struggling. You can't resist. The remaining primordial kings sneered. They controlled the azure dragon skin, and continued to attack. A terrifying aura was about to erupt. However, at this moment, the sky suddenly split open. Countless golden rays turned into sharp swords and cut the void in half. The azure dragon's movements were also interrupted. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled, and light swept out like a tide, causing a huge crack to appear in the sky. Damn it, who is it? At this moment, everyone looked up at the sky. The primordial kings roared. The primordial theocrats also frowned. The person who came was so powerful and terrifying. He could actually block their attack. Who was it? Did one of the sages of the human race awaken? Damn it, how is this possible? They had already used the 10,000 dragon picture to seal everything. How could those sleeping sages awaken? The humans were also stunned. They had originally despaired and thought that they were going to die, but they didn't expect that at the last moment, there would be a turn for the better. In the huge crack in the sky, 10,000 rays of light bloomed. Then, a golden figure appeared in the void and slowly descended. Accompanying it was a powerful force that suppressed the surroundings. So strong. The moment this golden figure appeared, everyone trembled. The archaic kings, sacred sovereigns, and sect masters were also filled with fear. Who was this person? It was too terrifying. Who are you? An archaic king of the nest of 10,000 dragons shouted coldly. I am the guardian of the human race. The human race cannot be bullied. The cold voice of the descending golden figure resounded throughout the land. Guardians of the human race. These words were like a clap of thunder that resounded in everyone's hearts. The 10,000 ancient races experts were stunned. The Jade Lake's cultivators' hearts were pounding wildly. Had their human races experts appeared? Had he come to save them? Those young disciples were trembling with excitement. However, the sacred leaders, sect masters and grand elders were frowning. Because the other side only had one person. Could they fight against the terrifying 10,000 ancient races? After all, even the combined forces of the energy reverend and the sage had been defeated. Even if the other party was a saint, there was nothing he could do, unless the other party had special means to contend against the nest of 10,000 dragons and unlock the seal, reviving the heritage of the great sects of the Holy Land. Only then could they resist the 10,000 ancient races. When the 10,000 ancient races heard this, they were first stunned. Then they sneered in disdain. Guardians of the human race? Ha 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 ha, what a joke. Do you think that you alone can protect the human race? That's right, who do you think you are? How dare you be arrogant in front of the 10,000 ancient races? Hurry up and kneel down and accept your death. Your human race's time is up. Cold laughter rang out. Among them, a primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons walked out. Kneel down and accept your death. As he spoke, a dragon claw stretched out, covering the sky and covering the earth as it grabbed at the golden figure in front of it. It wanted to claw him until he exploded. This scene caused everyone to feel nervous. The golden figure in front didn't dodge. Instead, he raised a finger and pressed it forward. How dare he fight against the primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons? Moreover, he was fighting in close combat with his physical body. He was courting death. Who did he think he was? Could his physique be stronger than that of a dragon's? Just wait, this guy will definitely be killed. The primordial kings sneered. In their opinion, how could the other party be a match for the primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons? Puffed. A golden finger was like a peerless divine sword. It was incomparably sharp and directly pierced through the dragon claw. It even pierced through the head of the primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons. With a bang, the head exploded. Blood mist filled the air as the corpse fell to the ground. This was impossible. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. What was going on? The primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons was killed. He was killed with a single finger just like that. Even his soul couldn't escape. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The martial artists on the human side were shocked. Those primordial kings felt their scalps go numb. Who was this person? How could his methods be so powerful? Damn it! How dare you kill someone from the nest of 10,000 dragons? The primordial kings of the nest of 10,000 dragons were even more furious. They were the primordial royal family. They were high and mighty. Who dared to make a move against them? But now, someone actually killed one of their primordial kings so easily. Just an ant. How dare you be arrogant in front of me? Let your saints make a move. Today, I will tell you that the human race cannot be bullied. The golden figure said coldly. He was Lin Xian, who had rushed over from the Black Demon Cliff. After Lin Xian fused with the 9 Sun Sword Saints' great success divine body, his strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. He left the Black Demon Cliff, killed a few primordial kings, and rushed directly towards the Jade Pool. Finally, at the last moment, he arrived. Damn it, go kill him! And primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons roared. At this moment, a total of 4 primordial kings charged forward. 2 primordial kings of the nest of 10,000 dragons, one from the divine Phoenix Ridge, and the other from the fire-chilling cave. These 4 primordial kings were all primordial kings of the primordial royal family. Their strength was incomparably terrifying, and they possessed the bloodline of the Emperor clan. At this moment they attacked crazily. It's over, that guy is in danger. The martial artists on the human side all became nervous. After all, they were primordial kings of the royal family, making everyone's scalps go numb. Even the Queen Mother of the West, the Yi family, and the Gu family's patriarchs were the same. Lin Xian looked at the 4 primordial kings who had just arrived, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. His eyes were incomparably resplendent. Killing intent suddenly erupted from his body. Another punch was thrown out, transforming into 10 suns that directly blasted forward. Boom! 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 Before the 4 primordial kings could get close, their bodies exploded in midair, torn into pieces and blood splattered everywhere. Dead again! Those primordial creatures widened their eyes in disbelief. Chapter 2859. Those were 4 primordial kings. Moreover, they were primordial kings of the royal family. How could they die? Damn it, who the hell was he? These people roared crazily. The 3 great royal families, and more than 30 primordial royal families, all went crazy. Those primordial creatures even began to tremble. The royal family was a godlike existence in their eyes. But now someone could actually slay a god. The human martial artists became excited, hope restored in their eyes. The person who came was so powerful, he might really be able to save them. Damn it, who the hell are you? These primordial creatures screamed crazily. They really couldn't believe that a human martial artist would be so powerful. I've said it before, I'm the guardian of the human race. Lin Xian's voice was cold. Dare to threaten my human race. Kill without mercy. Dare to kill my human race's martial artists. Tear them into pieces. As he finished speaking, a terrifying aura formed on his body, stirring up the winds and clouds in all directions. At this moment, He was like a sun war god, making everyone look up to him. At this moment, even those primordial creatures' hearts were beating wildly, as if their hearts were about to split open. With just you want to tear us into pieces? You're overestimating yourself. I'll let you see the power of the 10,000 ancient races. The primordial king of the nest of 10,000 dragons shouted coldly. The primordial king of the divine Phoenix Ridge also roared angrily. Kill him for me. They were really angry. Someone actually dared to challenge the three great royal families. This was unbearable for them. They had to use the primordial array formation to directly kill him. This time, they did not rashly move forward, because they knew that the other party was very strong, not something that one or two primordial kings could deal with. Therefore, they planned to use the array formation. These array formations were passed down from the primordial era. They were definitely incomparably powerful and unfathomable. Moreover, with so many primordial powerhouses using it together, it could definitely destroy the world. Instantly killing the other party wasn't difficult. It's over. I wonder if that person can resist it? Yes, these primordial array formations are really too terrifying, far surpassing the array formations that we have now. Behind them, the sacred lords and sect masters of the Jade Lake sacred ground were discussing animatedly. The Grand Elder and the others also had ugly expressions. That was because they had already suffered at the hands of the primordial formation in the previous battle. As soon as the primordial formation was activated, 4 sect masters had been annihilated on the spot. There were even 6 supreme elders who were directly crushed mercilessly. This kind of terrifying array formation made them tremble with fear. Now that the other party was using it, would that golden silhouette be able to withstand it? At the same time, they were also extremely puzzled. Who was this person? Too powerful. Which holy land or great sect were they from? They could not guess. Shen Jingqiu raised her eyebrows. Why did she feel that he looked like Brother Lin Xian? What did you say? Don't speak nonsense. How could that brat be so powerful? Someone shook his head. Morong Qingqing also said that his physique was very similar to the 9 Yang divine body. As soon as these words came out, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, and their scalps went numb. The eyes of the elders, living fossils, sect masters, and sacred lords twinkled. That's right, this really is the 9 Yang divine body. No way, could it really be that brat? No matter how powerful that brat was, he was only from the younger generation. How could he have the power to surpass a sacred bishop? These people's faces were full of disbelief. The patriarch of the Yi family took a deep breath. There was no doubt that it was the 9 Yang divine body, but it probably wasn't Lin Xian. That was because the power of the 9 Yang divine body was too terrifying. It was not something that could be cultivated in a few hundred years. It would be very difficult to cultivate it without a few thousand years. Could it be that there was another successor of the 9 Yang divine body in this world? They were extremely shocked. In front of them, the sky and earth were spinning. Terrifying energy surged. Mysterious runes appeared in the sky like demonic beasts, emitting a terrifying aura. In an instant, all the spiritual energy within a radius of millions of miles gathered toward the array formation. A terrifying wave of energy formed, and a terrifying killing intent soared into the sky, as if a peerless demon king was about to awaken. The primordial Yuan sky array. A cold voice sounded, and the terrifying array formation rumbled, causing everyone's souls to tremble. A peerless killing intent rushed out. The entire ground was trembling. Even the jade pool was shaking. It couldn't be helped. This array formation was too terrifying. With so many primordial kings and primordial creatures activating it one by one, its power was truly terrifying. Thus the terrifying array formation emitted a vast divine might, directly enveloping the entire starry sky and Lin Xian. Hurry up and activate the array formation. Below, Queen Mother of the West, and the others also activated their peerless array formation to resist. Otherwise, they would probably be affected too. At this moment, everyone felt suffocated and wanted to escape. However, they couldn't do it at all. That was because their bodies had all stiffened. Despicable ant, go to hell. In the distance, the primordial kings laughed loudly and activated the array formation. The primordial Yuan sky array rotated rapidly, forming a terrifying power. Countless lightning bolts and divine abilities rushed out. A wisp of thunder was enough to kill an invincible king. At this moment, with so many of them, no one would be able to resist. The primordial array formation was indeed powerful. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He was also an array formation expert, so he could naturally feel the powerful power brought about by the primordial array formation. Perhaps those sacred leaders and sect masters really couldn't resist it. But now he was different. He now had the greater mastery Nine Yang divine body, and its power was terrifying. This mere primordial array formation couldn't hurt him. He didn't dodge at all. Instead, he directly walked forward. Bolts of thunder struck his body, making rumbling sounds, but they couldn't cause him any harm. Lin Xian was like a god walking in the mortal world, strolling in the thunder and destruction divine light. Damn it, how is this possible? The primordial kings widened their eyes and screamed crazily. Dream, I must be dreaming. Damn it, this person knows how to use illusions. These primordial kings and primordial creatures screamed crazily. What did they see? The other party was strolling leisurely in their peerless array formation, not dodging at all. How was this possible? With such a terrifying primordial killing array, any sacred bishop who lived in it would die in an instant. Previously, they had successfully killed many powerhouses of the human race. But now, their killing array formation had actually failed. Damn it, could it be that this person was wearing a saint-level armor? A primordial king said coldly. After the other primordial creatures heard this, their expressions turned solemn. It was really possible. If it was a saint-level armor, it might really be able to withstand it. After all, a saint was extremely terrifying. A saint-level armor was a sacred weapon. So what if it was a sacred weapon? Let's attack together. The primordial kings of the nest of 10,000 dragons roared. Chapter 2860. Kill. Those primordial kings roared, and the murderous aura of the primordial army filled the sky. The power of the primordial killing array erupted once again. Lin Xian looked up to the sky and laughed. What 10,000 ancient races? Peerless killing arrays? They're nothing in front of me. I've said it before. The human race is not to be bullied. Those who bully the human race will be killed without mercy. Lin Xian's voice was like thunder, tearing through the sky. His palm turned into a golden river and slashed forward. Terrifying thunder, terrifying storm, and world-destroying divine light. Under this attack, everything was turned into ashes. The entire primordial killing array shook violently, as if it would crack at any time. This scene was too terrifying. The array that could kill a sacred leader was trembling rapidly under the feet of a person. Could this person be a saint? They didn't dare to imagine. God damn it, hold it steady. Those primordial kings roared crazily as their palms formed seals. The primordial killing array in front of them rolled rapidly, as countless runes intertwined, forming a primordial demonic shadow. As soon as the primordial demonic shadow appeared, it carried a murderous aura, and quickly charged over. This was formed by a peerless array, and it was extremely terrifying. After the first demonic shadow, many more appeared densely packed. A total of 100,000 demonic shadows charged into the void. Each of them was incomparably terrifying, and emitted a vast amount of energy. Kid, go to hell. The primordial kings behind roared crazily. With a wave of their palms, 100,000 primordial demonic shadows rushed forward, as if they were going to tear Lin Xian into pieces. A mere demonic shadow wants to fight against me? You overestimate yourself. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and waved his fist. Golden light shone, and divine light danced in the sky. He punched out. Boom, boom, boom. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The 100,000 demonic shadows trembled rapidly. Then they exploded, forming countless murderous auras that scattered in all directions. A huge black hole was created in the entire array. Lin Xian retracted his fist. Light bloomed from his body like a god fiend as he walked over. He walked out of the crack. A mere killing array is nothing in my eyes. What other tricks do you have? Bring them all out. Today, I will show you the power of the human race. What? It was broken. Did he just break the ancient killing formation? How could this be? The ancient life forms in the distance were extremely shocked. Their eyelids twitched in disbelief. This was especially true for the archaic kings, whose faces were filled with shock. Who was the other party? What kind of method was this? A single punch had blasted it apart. It was an incomparably terrifying killing array. The human martial artists were also stunned. The sacred leaders and sect masters were shocked. This scene was like a dream. One had to know that the ancient killing formation could easily kill them. However, the other party didn't suffer any injuries at all, and easily broke through the barrier. Heavens, could this really be a saint? The 10,000 ancient races also thought of this possibility, and felt their scalps go numb. Damn it, so what if he's a saint? Kill him for me. No one in the 10,000 ancient races can stop him. These people charged forward like they had gone mad. However, before those ancient lifeforms could approach, they fell from the sky. Their bodies exploded one after another, falling apart into pieces. Even their souls were directly extinguished. This scene was simply too shocking. Each of those ancient lifeforms was incomparably powerful. But at this moment in front of Lin Xian they were like ants. They had no possibility of resisting at all. Damn it, go to hell for me. The two archaic kings of the fire Qilin cave roared angrily. Unparalleled flames bloomed from their bodies. Their bodies also suddenly enlarged, turning from human form into two Qilins. They were like giant mountains roaring in the sky. These two fire Qilins were extremely terrifying, especially after they transformed into their true bodies. Their bloodline power bloomed, suppressing the 9 heavens. It made those human warriors despair in their hearts. Was this the true body of the 10,000 ancient races? It was truly too terrifying. Moreover, the other party was actually a Qilin. Not good. That was the ancient royal family, the Fire Qilin clan. They were extremely terrifying, not weaker than the dragons of the nest of 10,000 dragons at all. Sure enough, the two Fire Qilins roared into the 9 heavens. Their terrifying voices shook heaven and earth, shaking those human powerhouses until their ears bled. With a roar, the two Fire Qilins arrived on both sides of Lin Xian. Their claws fell, tearing through the void, wanting to smash Lin Xian into meat paste. Lin Xian reached out his palm, transforming it into a 5-fingered mountain, grabbing forward. He grabbed the heads of the two Fire Qilins. Damn it, go to hell for me. The two Fire Qilins roared angrily. The flames on their bodies soared into the sky, wanting to refine Lin Xian's palm. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A surge of 9 yang divine fire also rose from his hand and pounced forward. In the next moment, the two flames collided, emitting sizzling sounds. The two Fire Qilins screamed miserably. Their bodies were wrapped in 9 yang divine fire. Their bodies split open, their flesh and blood a mess. Damn it, how is this possible? I don't believe it. They roared crazily. This was too shocking. They were actually unable to resist the other party's flames. What kind of flames were these? One had to know. They were Fire Qilins. They cultivated flames to begin with. Furthermore, what they cultivated were Emperor race flames. What kind of terrifying flames were those? But they actually could not resist the other party, making them unable to believe it. In the next moment, they screamed even more miserably. Their heads were split into pieces, directly smashed apart. 2 massive corpses fell. Dust mist filled the air, and the ground cracked open. This scene was simply too terrifying. Dead, another 2 primordial kings were killed. This scene was too unbelievable. Lin Xian was like a fiend god, moving his fists. Places that he passed through, those primordial creatures were all killed miserably one after another. Not a single one was able to escape. In an instant, those primordial creatures' blood flowed like rivers, corpses like mountains. This scene was simply too shocking. Those primordial creatures roared crazily. Damn it, who the hell are you? The one who killed you. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Weren't you all very arrogant and rampant? Want to slaughter humans? Now I'll let you all have a taste of being slaughtered. While talking, Lin Xian waved his palm. Another 3 primordial kings' heads were cut off. Like cutting vegetables, there was no resistance at all. Taking a step out, swathes of the primordial army were crushed into a blood mist, without the strength to resist at all. Lin Xian was akin to a wolf entering a flock of sheep, slaughtering wantonly. Places that he passed through, blood flowed like rivers. Too powerful. The human race's martial artists were shocked to the core. Those young disciples even clenched their fists tightly, their faces full of excitement. Awesome, it was really too awesome. Previously, they were slaughtered by these 10,000 ancient races until blood flowed like rivers, without the strength to resist at all. It made them despair for a time, thinking that the human race would be wiped out. But now, a peerless powerhouse jumped out of their human race, slaying the primordial creatures domineeringly. How similar was this scene? Chapter 2861. Seeing these ancient creatures being miserable and scared out of their wits, they felt very good. Ah, how dare you kill a member of the ancient royal race? I will definitely tear you into pieces. An ancient king of the divine phoenix ridge roared crazily. The pair of wings on his back were hundreds of meters long. When they spread out, they were like two heavenly blades that cut through the void. However, he couldn't stop it. His subordinates and clansmen quickly fell. With a furious roar, he roared at Lin Xian, but his head was pierced by a finger. His body also fell down, and he lost his breath. Despair. The 10,000 ancient races were in despair at this moment. What kind of feeling was this? They had never experienced it before. But now, in the hands of a single person, they experienced despair. No matter how powerful the array formation, how terrifying the treasures, or how terrifying the ancient kings were, they were all killed in a single move in front of the other party. A single punch was enough to settle everything. Ancestor, come and save us. Those ancient kings roared at the sky, and the ancient creatures screamed crazily. They didn't dare to attack the other party at all. They only hoped that their ancestor would return from the war in the outer realm, to save them and kill this despicable human in front of them. The war in the outer realm was extremely intense. Tao laws danced in the air, and divine chains crisscrossed. Suddenly an ancient sage frowned. They heard shouts from below. What was going on? What happened? Why would their descendants let out such miserable screams? Among them, the sage of the nest of 10,000 dragons stretched out his soul and glanced down. In the next moment, his expression became incomparably ugly. Damn it, what was going on? Why did so many of the 10,000 ancient races die? Nearly half of them were directly killed. Corpses piled up into mountains and blood flowed into rivers. The terrifying aura almost spread to the outer realm. The other 11 sages also saw the scene below, and they all roared like they had gone mad. Damn it, who was it? What was going on? Not good, there was still a human sage below. Hurry up and kill. We can't let him attack again. These people roared crazily. They no longer fought with the 7 sages of the human race. Instead, they turned around and charged down. The 7 sages of the human race heaved a sigh of relief. Being surrounded by 12 ancient sages, they were in an extremely dangerous situation. They could be annihilated at any moment. Yet now, the 12 sages had actually abandoned them and left. They looked down and saw the same scene. So many ancient creatures had died. Even many archaic kings had died. What happened? Who was that person? When they saw the golden figure, their eyelids twitched wildly. There were no nomological laws dancing around the other party's body, nor were there any divine chains accompanying them. However, a single movement from the other party, a single ray of light, was enough to make them shudder in fear. An expert, an absolutely terrifying expert. He should be a saint. The human race actually had a saint. Moreover, he had killed so many of the archaic army. This made them extremely shocked. Let's go down and take a look. The 7 sages absorbed the spirit chi from tens of millions of miles away, and swallowed all kinds of treasures to quickly recover from their injuries. At the same time, they tore through the void and flew down. When they reached the bottom, they were still shocked. Although they had already seen the scene below when they had been in the outer realm, their hearts were pounding wildly now that they were surrounded by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. These were all primordial experts. Moreover, after these 10,000 ancient races died, they all transformed into their true forms. Dragons, phoenixes, cheilants, crocodiles, elephants, tigers. The huge corpses of the primordial mutants were like small mountains that filled the ground. The blood was extremely terrifying and contained boundless power. A single drop could easily kill an expert. At this moment, there were so many of them that they had gathered into a sea of blood. It was as if the entire world had turned into Azura hell. Damn it! The 12 sages roared crazily. They couldn't tolerate so many 10,000 ancient races being killed. These were all their elite experts. Each of them could hold their own and dominate a region. But now they were all dead. How could they tolerate this? They roared angrily, and their killing intent surged and swept through the 9 heavens. Their eyes were like piercingly cold sword lights as they stared at the golden figure in front of them. It's you. They looked at each other with murderous intent. At the same time, their eyelids twitched wildly. The other party was simply too strange. Facing the killing intent of the 12 sages, he was still calm and composed. There was no trace of discomfort at all. In fact, their sage pressure and the nomological laws that filled the sky couldn't even get close to him. Sage. He was definitely a sage. However, there was actually a sage in the human race. And he was so terrifying. This made them unable to believe it. Damn it, who are you? The guardian of the human race. Lin Xian's voice was cold. The 12 primordial sages? You've finally come out. Killing these ants is really too boring. Come on, let's fight. I will let you know the consequences of provoking the human race. Lin Xian waved his hand, completely disregarding the 12 primordial sages. Seeing this scene, the 7 human sages were shocked. The human cultivators in the Jade Lake sacred ground were all excited. He was simply too powerful. Previously, the 12 primordial sages were high and mighty, looking down on them. Who would have thought that one day, the human race would also be able to look down on the 12 sages? Everyone quickly drank the Jade Lake sacred water. Shi Wangwu didn't stay idle either. While the sages were fighting, the sacred leaders and sect masters, as well as the powerhouses, quickly drank the Jade Lake sacred water to recover from their injuries. Damn it, I'm so angry. In front, the primordial sages roared crazily. They were really mad. They had to kill the person in front of them, pull out his tendons and skin him alive, and make him suffer a fate worse than death. None of this could relieve the resentment in their hearts. It's not just you. I want the entire human race to be buried with you. I want everyone in the Jade Lake today to go to hell. The primordial sages of the Nest of 10,000 Dragons, Divine Phoenix Ridge, and Fire Qilin Cave roared crazily. They decided to destroy the human race and avenge their clansmen. The 12 sages emitted sharp killing intent that enveloped heaven and earth. The people of the Jade Lake below turned pale. It's over. They've completely angered the primordial sages. They'll probably end up in a miserable state. I hope that person can withstand it. What a joke. He definitely won't be able to withstand it. How could he defeat the 12 sages alone? Even with the other 7, there were still 8 of them. Against 12, he was still at a disadvantage. That's right. And this gap was simply impossible to make up for. The sacred leaders and sect masters shook their heads and sighed. They felt that the Golden Man wasn't saving them, but completely angering the 10,000 ancient races. Their deaths would be hastened. In front, Lin Xian snorted coldly, and the light on his body became even more resplendent. Countless divine lights gathered under his feet, forming a golden dragon that bared its fangs and brandished its claws in the sky. His cold voice also resounded in all directions. Chapter 2862. Together? You think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are that you need us to attack you together? I can kill you alone. A primeval sage stepped forward. Silver nomological laws danced around his body, and silver Dao runes shone brightly in the sky. Thunder filled the sky and floated under his feet. It was too terrifying. It was as if he was a peerless god of thunder, who could control all the thunder in the world. This is the sage of the Silver Lightning race. A sect leader of the Jade Lake sacred ground exclaimed. The Silver Lightning race was a very powerful race. Their sage was very terrifying. Moreover, this sage had cultivated the 5-colored divine thunder nomological laws. It could be said that he was very heaven-defying in the Tao of thunder. Be careful. This person's 5-colored divine thunder nomological laws are very terrifying. Don't touch it easily. Behind him, A few sages spoke in deep voices. This was because a sage of the Great Xia dynasty had been injured by the five-colored divine thunder nomological laws. Therefore, everyone had a deep impression of this sage of the silver lightning race. The five-colored divine thunder nomological laws? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. So what? I have the nine-yang divine body now. No matter how terrifying the other party's nomological laws were, he was not afraid. In front of him, the sage of the silver lightning race said coldly, "Kid, do you believe that I can kill you with 3 nomological laws?" He was very confident because the five-colored divine thunder nomological laws were too violent. Nothing could resist that destructive power. 3 nomological chains? Lin Xian sneered. You can't hurt me with 300 of them, let alone 3. His voice was full of confidence. It seemed that he did not take the other party seriously at all. Damn kid, you're courting death. The Archean king of the silver lightning race walked forward. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to our patriarch like that? They were really mad. Their patriarch was very terrifying, and was not inferior to the sages of the Archean royal families. That was the pride of the silver lightning race. Now that someone dared to look down on them, how could they tolerate it? The sage of the silver lightning race's face also darkened. He waved his hand and asked his people to leave. As for him, he looked to the front and stared at the golden figure. Eloquent. But very soon, you will regret it. As he spoke, 5-colored light rose from the saint of the silver electric race, which turned into 5-colored divine chains that circled around him. These were all divine chains formed from the power of laws. They were extremely terrifying. This kind of law completely surpassed that of a king. It could even easily kill any existence below the level of a saint. When those sect masters felt the power of the laws, their bodies trembled. They could only take out their divine weapons and activate them to defend themselves. The other human race martialists were pressed to the ground because they could not withstand the energy of the nomological laws at such a close distance. Fortunately, they were now inside the array formation. Otherwise, without the array formation, the aura emanating from it alone would have been enough to blast all the martialists into a bloody mist. Was this the power of a saint? How terrifying! Heavens, are they going to make a move here? Brat, let's go. Follow me to the outer realms to fight. The saint of the silver electric race rose into the air and said in a cold voice. However, Lin Xian did not move at all. He said coldly, "There's no need to go through so much trouble. If I fight with you, I'll be able to determine the victor in 1 or 2 moves." He had no intention of going to the outer realm. Hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded. What? Determine the victor in 1 or 2 moves? This person was too arrogant. That's right. Who did he think he was? How dare he say such a thing? That was a saint. A battle between saints was extremely terrifying. It was impossible to determine the victor in a short period of time. Did he think that he was still fighting against the archaic kings? The 10,000 archaic races roared in anger. They did not expect the other party to be so arrogant. Especially the saint of the Silver Palace race. His face was terrifyingly gloomy. Killing intent surged from his body and swept through the 9 heavens. Good, good, good. No one has ever dared to look down on me like this. Today, I'll tear you into pieces. I'll let you know how powerful I am. He stretched out his hand, and a 5-colored light burst out. Thunder swept out, as if it had flown from the immortal palace. Countless Tao runes intertwined and covered the entire sky. At this moment, all the martial artists were trembling. Every single one of them was terrified. Their bodies were drenched in sweat, and they could not move at all. It was not just the humans. The supreme ancient race army was the same. Feeling the might of a saint at such a close distance made everyone hold their breaths. Go to hell, brat. The saint of the silver lightning race made his move. With a wave of his palm, 10,000 bolts of thunder flashed. The entire heaven and earth turned into 5-colored divine light. It was extremely dazzling. The heaven and earth collapsed. Nothing could withstand it. The Empress of the West and the others frantically activated the array. But the array was still rapidly breaking apart. They had no choice. The power of a saint was too terrifying. They had to use their sacred weapons quickly. The sacred lords and sect leaders threw out a few sacred weapons that floated in the sky, Together with the array, they managed to block the attack. Otherwise, the fairy lake would have been split in half. How powerful! Was this the precept of the five-colored divine lightning? Once this precept was unleashed, it was truly destructive. One of the sect leaders looked solemn. Another grand elder also said that thunder was a violent force. The five-colored divine lightning was a very terrifying type of thunder. The precept of the five-colored divine lightning was definitely heaven-defying. He wondered if that person would be able to withstand it. In the sky, a five-colored palm slammed down. The palm carried terrifying Dao runes and terrifying divine chains. This was a destructive attack. Before the palm arrived, the space around Lin Xian completely collapsed, turning into a ball of chaos. That terrifying destructive force wanted to tear his body apart. Lin Xian snorted coldly and stomped his foot. The surrounding void split open, and a terrifying force pushed in all directions. Instantly the chaotic void was pushed away. His body shone with boundless light. The terrifying five-colored divine lightning struck his body, emitting a sonorous sound. The impact caused the people in the distance to vomit blood. The primordial creatures also bled from their 7 orifices. As for Lin Xian, he was unharmed. Was this your five-colored divine lightning? It was only so. Lin Xian sneered. What? He actually blocked the five-colored thunder precept. And he was unharmed? Heavens, what kind of body was that? Was that guy a greater mastery sacred body? The people from the 10,000 ancient races were also stunned. They knew how terrifying the five-colored divine lightning was. Especially now it was a saint attacking. How could the other party withstand it? Could it be that he was wearing a saint armor? Everyone looked solemn. The 12 saints' gazes were like rainbows that pierced through the golden light. No, he wasn't wearing any armor. This was purely the power of his physical body. They all sucked in a breath of cold air. How had he managed to resist the destructive five-colored divine thunder laws with his physical strength alone? Damn it, there was something wrong with his physique. Chapter 2863. The others' eyelids twitched when they heard that. Impossible. The Yi family's sage physique was so terrifying. It was said that the combat power of a sage physique was comparable to that of a great emperor. If he really had a sage physique, he could probably destroy all of us with a slap. The Silver Lightning Saint was extremely shocked. His opponent's physique was too strong. It was beyond his expectations. He could actually block his five-colored divine thunder law. Damn it, I don't believe it. I don't believe you can block my next attack. The Silver Lightning Saint's cold voice resounded through heaven and earth. He formed a seal with his palms, and the law and divine chains of order danced in the sky. They were densely packed and covered the sky, forming layers and layers of thunder. 49 levels of heaven. Heavens, he actually knew such a great divine ability. A supreme elder of the human race exclaimed in surprise. The others asked one after another. The 49 levels of heaven was an extremely terrifying divine ability. One had to know that when the heavenly tribulation descended, it would descend from the 49 levels of heaven. However, it would usually only appear at the 9th, 12th, and 18th levels of heaven. At most, it would only appear at the 36th level of heaven. As for the 49 levels of heaven, it was a legendary existence. It would probably only appear when a great emperor broke through and went through the heavenly tribulation. But now, the other party had used his own divine ability to evolve the 49 levels of heaven. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to defy the heavens? These people were shocked. Even the saints of the human race had grave expressions on their faces. Especially the saint of the Great Xia dynasty. He had been injured by the other party's 49 levels of heaven. Kid, my 49 levels of heaven are comparable to the real heavenly tribulation thunder. Unless you are a real great emperor, you will not be able to block my 49 levels of heaven. Now go to hell. The saint of the Silver Lightning race revealed a sinister smile. This was his trump card, and it was extremely powerful. So what if the other party's physique was strong? He did not believe that the other party could resist his 49 levels of heaven. 9 levels of heaven kill. The Silver Lightning Saint waved his hand, and immediately, the 9 levels of thunder tribulation in the sky descended. The 9 levels of thunder tribulation right off the bat. This was really a killing move. The human race powerhouse's eyelids twitched wildly. The archaic creatures, on the other hand, cried out in surprise. In the sky, crackling sounds could be heard. The void was torn apart, forming countless large cracks. Thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth rushed out from the 9 heavens. The 5-colored thunder carried a terrifying power that could destroy everything. No one could survive if they were struck by the lightning. Even those saints had to be careful. Lin Xian naturally felt a sense of crisis. Was this the 49-layered heavens? He was indeed powerful. But so what? He laughed coldly and charged towards the sky. He waved his golden fists and 2 golden crows flew in the sky. Boom! The thunder tribulation that filled the sky exploded. The entire sky was torn apart. Not only that, but the 9th heaven was also torn into 2 by him. At this moment, Lin Xian was like the sun god of war, unstoppable. The saint of the silver lightning race continued to attack with a dark expression. He knew that the 9th heaven should not be able to harm the other party. Therefore, he gradually increased his attacks. 12 layers of heaven. He suppressed it. This time, the thunder and lightning were even more violent and terrifying than before. It carried with it the danger of destroying the world. However, it was still destroyed by Lin Xian with 1 punch. 24 layers of heaven. The saint of the silver lightning race roared again with a cold expression. This time, the 24 layers of heaven pressed down. Not only that, but a figure also appeared in the thunder of the 24 layers of heaven. It was a huge creature that looked very ferocious. It looked like a qilin or a lion. It was a thunder lake. It was a divine beast of lightning. Heavens, he could actually evolve such a thing. Oh no! The saint of the great Xia dynasty was injured by this thunder beast. Would that person also be injured? He must be able to withstand it. These people exclaimed. In the sky, the huge lightning beast let out a roar. Along with the divine lightning that filled the sky, it quickly charged over. It was surrounded by Tao patterns, forming a terrifying divine chain that displayed an extremely powerful destructive power. However, Lin Xian was still fearless. He strode forward. Under his feet, a golden light flickered and turned into a golden dragon. A piercing light burst out from his eyes like 2 golden divine swords. In an instant, the entire sky was dyed golden. Slash! Lin Xian roared. He did not draw his sword. Instead, he waved his arm and used his entire arm as a giant sword. With 1 strike, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The thunder beast in front was split in half with a bang, and let out a miserable howl. The 24 layers of heaven were also shattered. Pfft! The saint of the silver lightning race was sent flying, as if he had been struck by lightning. He spat out a mouthful of saint blood, and pierced through the void. He was injured. How was this possible? Damn it! Our sage is actually injured. No, I don't believe it. The creatures of the 10,000 ancient races roared crazily. They were all stunned. The people of the silver lightning race screamed crazily. Patriarch! They did not expect their patriarch to be injured. On the side of the human race, their faces were filled with shock. Defeated. He actually defeated the lightning lake. He broke the 24 layers of heaven. Heavens, where did this person come from? He was too terrifying. 1 strike could split the sky and the earth. Poof! The saint of the silver palace retreated hundreds of thousands of miles before he could stop. His face became ferocious. Ah! With a furious roar, the sky shattered. He took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian. Damn it! Damn it! Lin Xian had actually broken his thunder beast, his 24 layers of heaven, and even injured him? He could not accept this. At the same time, he was shocked. That strike was so terrifying that even he was shocked. Damn it, you have completely infuriated me. 36 layers of heaven. Endless thunder rumbled in the sky as the 36 layers of heaven pressed down once again. This time, the thunder formed many thunder palaces with mysterious power. Tao inscriptions danced on the palaces, and the precepts filled the air as they quickly descended from the sky. Not good. This power was too terrifying. It was much stronger than the 24 layers of heaven. No one would be able to resist it. They would have to use a sacred weapon to resist it. Does he have a sacred weapon? Should I lend one to him? The martial artists of the human race were extremely shocked. This power caused the entire Jade Lake sacred ground to be on the verge of collapse. The sacred weapons continued to rumble. The 7 sages of the human race also took action to stabilize the array of the Jade Lake. The 36 layers of heaven was too terrifying. The sky was filled with immortal palaces, as though they were the palaces of the heavenly court. Lin Xian stopped in his tracks. He felt a great resistance that seemed to be preventing him from moving forward. Chapter 2864. The golden light on Lin Xian's body became even more piercingly cold. He stretched out his golden hand and grabbed forward. This palm stretched out and covered the sky, as if it was the hand of a real fiend god. He grabbed the palaces that filled the sky. Then he squeezed hard. Crack! The palaces that filled the sky were all shattered. Endless thunder danced and pierced through all directions. Below, the archaic army was struck by the lightning and was instantly pierced through, turning into a bloody mist. Damn it! The other sages cast out layers of nomological light screens to protect the lives of the 10,000 Archean races. However, their expressions were extremely gloomy. Shattered, the 36 heavenly palaces were crushed with one pinch. What kind of scene was this? Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe it at all. The Silver Electric race's sage was even more dumbfounded. That was the 36 heavens. What a terrifying divine power. However, it was shattered by the other party's palm. How was that possible? Damn it, the 49 heavens! He roared. But before he could activate his divine power, Lin Xian took the initiative to attack. He had received 3 divine powers from the other party, and didn't intend to passively take it anymore. He planned to take the initiative to attack. His figure flickered, and like a golden sword, he tore through space and time, and arrived in front of the Silver Electric race's sage. With a kick, it was as if a huge mountain was crashing forward. Damn it, block it for me! The Silver Electric race's sage hadn't finished using his divine power, and the 49 heavens in the sky had just formed, but he was already kicked by Lin Xian. With this kick, more than half of his ribs were broken, and his body flew backward like a meteor. He crashed into the marble. Instantly, the ground split open, forming countless cracks. Dust filled the sky, and countless nomological laws and divine chains danced in the air. Boom! In the sky, the 49 heavens that had just formed also quickly dissipated. Seeing this scene, everyone's mouths were wide open in disbelief. Because at the sage level, raising a hand was a nomological law, and waving a hand was a divine chain. Who would use their fists in close combat? This was simply a battle between barbarians. However, the golden figure in front of him was so powerful that he could crush the 36 heavens with a single hand. At this moment he was in close combat. With a single kick, he sent the Silver Lightning Saint flying. Heavens, was he really a saint? I don't know. I've never seen him use the laws. He only saw him using the power of his physical body. It was too strange. The experts of the human race discussed animatedly among themselves. The eyes of the saints of the human race flickered. On the other side, the 10,000 ancient races were dumbfounded. Regardless of whether the other party had used any nomological laws, the consequences of this alone were extremely terrifying. To be able to send a sage flying with a single kick, they felt like they were dreaming. Damn it, no, I don't believe it. The archaic kings screamed like they had gone mad. How could the other party be so strong? The other 11 saints' mouths also twitched. Damn barbarians, human ants, they're too despicable. They didn't expect that the other party would engage in close combat. However, what shocked them the most was how strong the physique of a sage was. So what if it was close combat? If a sage stood there and didn't fight back, a group of archaic kings wouldn't be able to break through the sage's defense. But now, the other party had sent the Silver Lightning Saint flying with a single kick, and even injured him. This meant that the other party was definitely at the sage level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to break through the sage's defense. Damn it, this guy was really strange. He was clearly a sage, but he didn't use any nomological laws, and only used the power of his physical body to resist. Could it be that he had some restrictions? The Blood Moon Race's archaic saint frowned. What restrictions? Despicable human, you're provoking us. The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons snorted coldly. In his opinion, it wasn't that the other party wouldn't attack, but that he wouldn't use any nomological laws. This was obviously looking down on them. How could they tolerate this? The other saints also had gloomy expressions. Why don't we attack together and kill him? These people all had the same thought. But at this moment, a saint of the Yi family stood out and shouted coldly. What, you want to attack together? Is this the glory of the ancient race? As a member of the 10,000 ancient races, you don't even have this much confidence? Hearing this voice, the saints of the 10,000 ancient races gritted their teeth. Damn it, they couldn't attack anymore. Because they couldn't afford to lose face. Indeed, they thought that they were high and mighty, that they had the noblest bloodline flowing in their bodies, and that humans were ants. Now a group of high and mighty existences like them had to besiege an ant. How could they do that? Their pride didn't allow them to do that. Therefore, they were so angry that they gritted their teeth. But there was nothing they could do. All of a sudden, everyone's gazes shifted to the distance. What happened to the Silver Lightning Race's saint under the ground? Boom, boom, boom. The ground below began to tremble, and large cracks appeared in all directions that were tens of millions of miles long. It continued to spread. The entire ground was cut into several pieces. A figure drilled out of the ground and roared at the sky. Ah, damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. This person was an expert of the Silver Lightning Race. He was mad with anger. The other party had actually injured him with a kick and broken his divine ability. This was intolerable. He swore that he would tear the other party into pieces. However, as soon as he left the ground, a long leg stepped on his head and stomped him down again. Crack! Crack! The Silver Lightning Race's saint's head was deformed. Do you still want to get up and resist? Today, I'll trample you under the feet of the humans. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He stepped on the other party's head with one foot and looked in all directions with a disdainful gaze. This scene was simply too shocking. Everyone was stunned. The entire world was terrifyingly silent. Only their hearts were beating non-stop. So powerful. So domineering. The people from the human race were stunned. The sacred masters and sect masters were also shocked. The saints were even more so. The young disciples fainted from excitement, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. On the other hand, the archaic army was roaring crazily. No, damn it. Take your foot away. We'll kill you. We must kill you. Let go of our patriarch. They screamed crazily. The archaic saints were their patriarchs and their pride. But now, someone was stepping on their head, and they could not resist at all. This was intolerable. Damn it, let go of our patriarch. The 8 archaic kings of the Silver Lightning Race charged over. They held ancient treasures in their hands and connected them to form a terrifying attack that charged toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the 8 divine rainbows transformed into golden swords that slashed into the distance. Immediately, the 8 archaic kings were cut in half. Bang! 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 Their bodies split open and blood spurted out. This scene was extremely tragic. Chapter 2865. Powerful, he's too powerful. He raised his hand to kill the primordial king, and stepped on the head of the primordial saint in a domineering manner. What kind of person is he? Could it be that he's the reincarnation of a great emperor? Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. I must kill you. The primordial saint of the Silver Lightning Race roared crazily. His lungs were about to explode from anger. He had never been humiliated like this. No one had ever dared to hurt him, let alone step on his head. But now, he was so aggrieved in front of a human. He couldn't stand it. However, no matter what laws he used or what divine abilities he used, he couldn't escape from the other party's feet. How is this possible? How is this possible? The Silver Lightning Race's saint roared crazily. He couldn't escape from the other party's feet. This is too unbelievable. Lin Xian could feel that the saint below him wanted to break free. He sneered. Stop struggling, you can't break free at all. He had mastered the 9 Yang divine art, and his strength was terrifying. Although he didn't use any laws, the power of his physical body was not something that the other party could contend with. Damn it! The Silver Lightning Race's saint roared. A hint of madness appeared in his eyes, and his head exploded. That energy could destroy the heavens and the earth. The terrifying energy combined with the saint's blood turned into a ferocious beast that charged towards Lin Xian, wanting to tear him apart. Oh no, that saint actually self-destructed. The human warriors in the distance exclaimed. The eyelids of those sect leaders twitched wildly. A saint didn't hesitate to self-destruct. The consequences were definitely terrifying. In an instant, Lin Xian was completely engulfed. The place where he was turned into a black hole that spread in all directions. Nothing could stop it. Everyone retreated crazily. The human saints even held sacred artifacts in their hands and launched terrifying attacks that cut through everything. Whoosh! The Silver Lightning Race's saint retreated. In the distance, his head reassembled. Although his face was pale, he revealed a sinister sneer. Damn it, you want me to self-destruct in order to kill you? How despicable. Don't worry, although you're dead, it'll kill all of your fellow humans. I want you humans to bleed to the last drop of blood. The killer's intent on his body overflowed into the sky and transformed into rays of rainbow that pierced through the 9 heavens. Because he was truly enraged, he would not rest until he killed all of the human race. The rest of the Supreme Ancient Army also roared with laughter. Ha 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 ha, what kind of human expert is this? That's all there is to it. That's right. Even though he's formidable, he's still no match for our ancestor in the end. You humans will definitely die today. These people's eyes were also red. Like demons, they were ready to attack. It was over. On the human side, their hearts fell from heaven to hell. Their faces were filled with despair. Some of them even knelt on the ground and started crying crazily. Was the gold-like man also killed? They didn't dare to imagine that the other party was so powerful that he could trample an ancient saint under his feet. He was their savior. But now, the other party was swallowed up by the terrifying black hole and disappeared without a trace. Looking at the expressions of the other sacred leaders and sect masters, he knew that the other party was most likely dead. As expected, the faces of the sacred leaders and sect masters turned ugly. The 7 sages also had gloomy expressions. The Supreme Ancient Army in the distance was like a black cloud that pressed over. Despicable human, go to hell. They laughed sinisterly. With a boom, the endless black hole was torn open, and the gold-like figure walked out again. How dare they attack again? Lin Xian snorted coldly when he saw those figures charging over again. The light on his body transformed into 108,000 sharp swords that slashed in all directions. Puff! Puff! The Supreme Ancient Army was mercilessly destroyed. Their bodies split open and turned into a sea of blood again. Damn it! The people from the 10,000 ancient races felt their hearts being torn apart. Their elite had fallen again. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the other party was not dead. The other party was walking over. How was that possible? How was the other party unharmed after such a violent energy attack? What kind of physique was that? Could it be that he really had a greater mastery of the sage physique? How dare you self-destruct? Let's see how many times you can self-destruct. Lin Xian tore through the void and charged over again. In an instant, he arrived in front of the Silver Lightning Race's sage. Damn it, get lost. The Silver Lightning Race's sage roared crazily when he saw this. The 5-colored lightning on his body formed a lightning blade, and he slashed out. The terrifying blade light was like a huge mountain ridge that pressed down from the sky. At the same time, the Silver Lightning Race's sage opened his mouth and spat. The sky was filled with thunder. The entire world was shaking. The mountains in the distance were directly shattered. Numerous cracks began to appear on the ground. The terrifying thunderbolts transformed into flying swords made of thunder and lightning that shot towards Lin Xian. These flying swords all carried Taoist patterns and flashed with nomological laws. They were extremely ferocious and terrifying. This scene caused everyone to hold their breaths. This method was simply too powerful. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Light bloomed from his body, and the 9 suns' divine fire burned fiercely. It fought against the thunder that filled the sky. The small flying swords were enveloped by the 9 suns' divine fire, and instantly melted. The Taoist patterns on them also burned. Lin Xian's fist transformed into a terrifying golden crow that charged forward and blasted the 5-colored blade light away. At the same time, his leg flew up and lashed forward like a divine whip. With a bang, the silver lightning race's sage was sent flying again. Whoosh! Lin Xian followed closely behind like a shadow. He stepped out with a long foot, and it pressed down from the sky like an ancient mountain. Boom! This foot once again trampled on the silver lightning race's sage. Everyone was stunned. The silver lightning race's sage was so angry that he fainted. His head was stepped on again. It was the same scene, the same action, and he could not escape. Don't worry, I won't give you a chance to self-destruct. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. He exerted force with his foot and directly crushed the sage's head. With a boom, a bloody mist exploded and blood splattered everywhere. This time it was not self-destruction. Instead, it was the saint's head that was stomped to smithereens. Boom! Lin Xian's foot landed on the sage's body, and his body was torn into pieces. Sage blood surged in the sky. This scene was simply too terrifying. A sage's body was blasted into pieces. They knew that with the means of a sage, it was impossible for him to die so easily. However, this was the first time they had seen a sage being blasted into pieces. It was too tragic. That golden figure was simply too powerful. Was this the power of the 9 suns' divine body? Why do I feel that he has a greater mastery 9 suns' divine body? The sacred lords, grand elders, and the sages of the human race discussed in low voices. The silver lightning race's sage regrouped and charged over crazily. However, he was once again blasted into pieces by Lin Xian's punch. Chapter 2866. He did not use any laws. His fists were simple and direct, and he could easily shatter the sage's body. Buzz! Suddenly, the void behind Lin Xian cracked open, and a blood-red light shot out. The light was too sudden, and it was impossible to guard against it. It was extremely fast, and there were Tao patterns on it. Obviously, another kind of sage had made a move. Oh no! All the human race martial artists exclaimed, and they started to worry about the golden figure. Lin Xian's pupil shrank. He did not expect someone else to make a move. Shameless indeed. In the next moment he snorted coldly. He did not dodge at all. Instead he threw out a palm strike behind him. With a boom, Lin Xian's palm strike sent the red light flying. The red light flew out and turned into a blood-red moon. It floated in the sky with monstrous Tao patterns. It was the sage of the Blood Moon clan. He had made a move. The human race martial artists in the distance exclaimed. They did not expect the second true Archean sage to make a move. Were they trying to bully him with numbers? The human race's sage had terrifying law divine chains on his body, and he was about to make a move. However, Lin Xian waved his hand and charged toward the Blood Moon clan's sage. A huge hand covered the sky and blasted out like a demonic mountain, courting death. In the sky, the Blood Moon clan's sage roared. The blood-red moon behind him could suppress the world. At this moment, he was enraged when he saw Lin Xian attacking him. The blood-red Tao patterns on his body turned into divine swords that pierced down from the sky. Soon, they collided with Lin Xian's golden palm. There was a boom in the sky, and it sounded like a heavenly tribulation. Sparks flew from the golden palm, but it was not injured. Instead, the terrifying force shattered all the blood swords. The Blood Moon clan sage? Lin Xian snorted coldly. The golden palm struck out, trying to capture the Blood Moon clan's sage. Courting death. How dare you? The Blood Moon clan's sage roared. He activated the blood-red moon behind him and charged toward Lin Xian with endless law. At the same time, the saint of the Silver Lightning clan charged over again. Divine chains of order flashed in the sky, bringing with them a terrifying power of thunder and a terrifying blood-red killing aura. At this moment, the two great sage fighters were going all out against Lin Xian. It was truly terrifying. Oh no, that person is in danger. That's right, no matter how strong he was, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks of two saints. Damn it, the 10,000 ancient races? How shameless. The humans on the side of the human race roared madly. Indeed, he didn't expect the other party to use such a method of outnumbering him. Ancestor, make a move. The human warriors looked at the seven saints. However, the ancient sages in the sky sneered. You want a group battle? We don't mind playing with you. Their auras descended and stared at the human saints below. If the human saints made any movements, they would attack mercilessly. In terms of numbers, they far outnumbered the humans. Damn it! The human saints' face darkened. They had no choice. This was their current disadvantage. If they could use their trump cards, they would be able to reverse the situation. However, they couldn't use their trump cards. Therefore, at this moment, they could only watch as the golden figure in front of them was besieged by the two saints. Buzz! The golden hand grabbed the blood moon in the sky and squeezed hard. With a cracking sound, countless cracks appeared on the blood-colored moon. Boom! Then it shattered. The saint of the Blood Moon clan was sent flying while vomiting blood. Countless cracks appeared on his body. Even his divine chains of order had dimmed. This scene stunned everyone. Another palm had shattered the Blood Moon. This scene caused the same commotion as when the other party had shattered the 36 levels of heaven with a single palm. Die for me. At this moment, the saint of the Silver Lightning clan also appeared behind them. The 5-colored lightning on his body blasted forward. Each bolt of lightning was formed by the precepts. At this moment, they were densely packed and turned into an inescapable net. The intertwining of the lightning made everyone tremble. Even the human saints had solemn expressions. This was because the 5-colored lightning posed a great threat to them. However, it didn't have much of an effect on Lin Xian. The strength of Lin Xian's body was far beyond their imagination. Therefore, when the 5-colored lightning struck Lin Xian's body, it didn't cause any damage at all. Instead, the saint of the Silver Lightning clan was sent flying again by Lin Xian's kick. The saint's body was torn apart and shattered again. This was the power of the 10,000 ancient races? They were only SOSO. Lin Xian stood in the void and looked around disdainfully. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. 2 against 1. And he wasn't at a disadvantage. He suppressed the 2 primordial saints. The heavens were too powerful. Was this the power of the human race? The cultivators in the Jade Pool were extremely excited. On the other side, the 10,000 ancient races' faces were gloomy. They were about to faint from anger. At the same time, a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. Too powerful. The other party was indeed too powerful. They had probably never dreamed of this scene. The saints of the Silver Lightning clan and the Blood Moon clan were so angry that they shouted, "Kill!" The 2 of them attacked again. If they didn't kill this kid in front of them, they would be ridiculed for the rest of their lives. Therefore, the 2 of them didn't show any mercy at this moment. They used their nomological Great Daos, and the entire world shook rapidly. If you want to die, it'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian didn't use any nomological laws. The power of a greater mastery divine body was enough to deal with the current situation. One had to know that when the 9-Sun Sword Saint was alive, he was extremely shocking. A greater mastery 9-Sun divine body wasn't weaker than a greater mastery sacred body. Therefore, Lin Xian now had the power to collapse the heavens with a raise of his hand. A great battle broke out. But after 50 moves, the 2 saints fled miserably. They were beaten up 7 or 8 times, and even their souls were injured. Their nomological laws were about to be destroyed. This shocked them. The person in front of them was like a god of death. He far surpassed them, and they didn't dare to fight again. The 10,000 ancient races were only SOO. Lin Xian stood in the sky like a god, looking down at the people below. It made the army of the 10,000 ancient races tremble. The faces of the ancient royal family members were also pale. The expressions of the other ancient saints were terrifying. Damn it. Since when were they intimidated by the threat of the human race? They wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. Who's going to kill him? In front, a saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons said coldly. Damn. A saint of the Tiango clan walked out. He opened his huge head and bit at Lin Xian. Instantly, the originally bright sky became dark. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers. Not good, the Tiango lunar eclipse. Below, the cultivators of the Jade Lake sacred ground trembled. Many of them lay on the ground, and their souls were about to be crushed. Rumor had it that the Tiango clan could devour the moon. They originally thought that it was just an exaggeration, but now it seemed that the Tiango clan's saint could really do that. This time, it was as if the entire sky was swallowed. Chapter 2867. Go to hell, brat. The heavenly dog saint sneered. Their race was known as the Moon Devourer. That was not a lie. Moreover, they did not simply swallow things. There was a terrifying power in their bodies that could refine everything. Even if a saint was swallowed, he would most likely die. Ha 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 ha. The heavenly dog saint threw his head back and laughed. However, he was soon unable to laugh anymore. That was because his head had been smashed apart. In the endless darkness, a golden light shone and pierced through the sky. Immediately after, the heavenly dog saint screamed in pain. His saint blood floated down. His teeth were shattered, and his head was torn apart. A golden figure rushed out of the darkness. It was Lin Xian. Do you think you can swallow me? After Lin Xian came out, he stomped on the ground and punched the heavenly dog saint's body into pieces again. Another saint was injured. His body was destroyed. The 10,000 Archean races could not believe it. The other saints were even more shocked. All of you back down. I'll do it. An old voice sounded. This time, an old man walked out. Divine flames surged on his body, making him look like a god of fire. The saint of fire Qilin Cave. He was the saint of the primordial royal family. These people were terrified. The heavenly dog race and the blood moon race were all primordial royal families. They were powerful. However, they were still inferior to the primordial royal family. Now, the saint of the primordial royal family was finally going to make a move. A flaming divine spear appeared in the old man's hand. It emitted a monstrous light, and Tao patterns filled the sky. The Qilin spear, a sacred artifact. Moreover, it was an extremely terrifying and famous sacred artifact. It was created by an expert in the primordial era. It had been sleeping together with the fire Qilin Cave for countless years. Now it finally saw the light of day again. The Qilin spear was able to suppress everything. Even the saints felt threatened, let alone the sect masters, sacred ancestors, and ordinary martial artists. They could not breathe at all. Everything was over. The old saint of the fire Qilin Cave harumphed coldly. He waved the Qilin spear in his hand, emitting a terrifying light. A terrifying saint's aura directly pierced through the void. Wang. In an instant, he arrived in front of Lin Xian and stabbed at Lin Xian's head. So fast, so strong, everyone exclaimed. However, Lin Xian did not dodge. He reached out with his large hand and grabbed the spearhead in front of him. What? He wanted to face the Qilin spear head on, catching a saint weapon with his bare hands? These people were extremely shocked, especially the experts from the 10,000 ancient races. They cried out in surprise. He could not believe it. The archaic kings of the fire Qilin Cave all laughed coldly. This brat was too arrogant. Who did he think he was? You want to take our saint's attack with your bare hands? Just you wait, I'll be beaten to pieces. As expected, the moment the Qilin spear was grabbed, the flames on it surged to the heavens and turned into a fire Qilin, wanting to kill Lin Xian completely. On Lin Xian's body, the 9-yang divine flame rushed out and turned into a huge flame dragon, tangling with the fire Qilin. It's useless. Your flames can't hurt me at all. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. At the same time, his other hand also held the Qilin spear. With an angry roar, he swung the spear and directly smashed the fire Qilin Cave saint downwards. Boom! This attack caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. Countless mountains were broken and countless lands sank. A terrifying power rushed in all directions like a dragon's aura. What? So strong? This scene stunned everyone, especially the 10,000 ancient races. Everyone's hearts were beating wildly, and their souls were trembling. Could it be that even the saint of the ancient royal family was no match for him? Wang. In the sky, a divine light lit up and flew towards Lin Xian. The The saint of the divine Phoenix Ridge had made his move. He finally couldn't stand it anymore and attacked again. The divine Phoenix Ridge was also one of the ancient royal families. Their saint was also incomparably terrifying. It was a woman with a cold expression. At this moment, she raised her jade-like hand and directly turned it into a golden sword light, forming an eternal killing move. Wang. Lin Xian was still fearless. He punched out and directly collided with the eternal light. In the next moment he frowned, because he discovered that the light suddenly opened up and formed a terrifying power that enveloped him. Damn it, self-destructing an ancient treasure. Lin Xian was shocked. The other party was so decisive that she didn't hesitate to use the power of a saint and the power of an ancient treasure to attack him. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom. In front of them, a terrifying light flickered, so dazzling that everyone couldn't open their eyes. The terrifying power rumbled, causing their ears to bleed. The light on Lin Xian's body was also torn apart. The 9 suns' divine fire danced in the sky. Could it be that that person was injured? On the other side, the 10,000 ancient race martialists also laughed sinisterly. This time he's dead for sure. However, in the next moment, they were all stunned, and their pupils constricted. Damn it, what's going on? The other party wasn't injured. The human race cultivators also began to scream. What? It's him. It's actually him. Heavens, they were about to faint. Because they had discovered something extremely inconceivable. At this moment the young cultivators Yi Wudao Gu Santong and the others were dumbfounded. Not only them, but the Yi family patriarch, Queen Mother of the West, and the others were also stunned. Lin Xian, how could it be him? That's right. Now that the golden light on Lin Xian's body had been torn apart, revealing his face, the human cultivators naturally saw it. The people from the 10,000 ancient races also saw it. Damn it, Central Sovereign Lin Xian. How could that human prodigy be him? How could he have such powerful strength? What a human prodigy. Are you talking about that Lin Xian? Damn it, isn't he from the younger generation? How could he be a saint? The archaic kings also screamed. They really couldn't understand what was going on. For a moment everyone was stunned. Xian's expression was solemn. He didn't expect the divine Phoenix Ridge's saint to be so powerful that he could break through his protective light. He had revealed his true face. But so what? So what if he recognized his identity? Today, he would defeat the 10,000 ancient races with a tyrannical attitude. Could it be that he just looked like him? That's right, maybe he's that kid's ancestor. Otherwise, how could that kid have the divine Nine-Yang body? If you say so, it's possible. Everyone discussed spiritedly. They felt that this figure wasn't Lin Xian, but one of Lin Xian's ancestors. It seemed that Lin Xian's identity was indeed extraordinary. No wonder he was so powerful. They discussed spiritedly, but soon they were stunned. Some even fainted because the golden figure in the sky spoke in a deep voice. That's right, I'm Lin Xian. I'm Central Sovereign Lin Xian. Those who bully the human race will be killed without mercy. A cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. Everyone was so shocked that their minds went blank. What? Lin Xian? He's really Lin Xian. Heavens, this is impossible. Dream, I must be dreaming. Chapter 2868. Could it be that he was a sage himself? These people were all stunned. Central Emperor Lin Xian. Who in the world did not know him? Who did not know him? He was one of the most dazzling geniuses of the younger generation of the human race. He had the potential to become a great emperor in the future and compete with the other races. However, no matter how dazzling you were still a genius of the younger generation. How heaven-defying could you be? Although you could defeat the elders, you weren't a match for the sect leaders. But now, this young genius in front of them had far surpassed the sect leaders. Even the primordial sages weren't a match for him. He had stomped a primordial sage into the ground with 1 foot. Was he still human? This was heaven-defying. What was going on? These people wanted to ask, but they were stopped by the Yi family head and Queen Mother of the West. Don't ask too much. We'll talk about it after the dark turmoil is over. They now knew that Lin Xian was their hope. No matter how he got his strength, Defeating the 10,000 ancient races was the most important thing. Yes, Hall Master Lin, do your best. The elders cheered. Those young disciples seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Lin Xian, you're my great Lin Xian. Ha 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 ha, great Lin Xian. I knew you were the best. Great God, I love you to death. Lin Xian of the Middle Emperor was indeed worthy of his reputation. This was the aura of a young great emperor. He was definitely a future great emperor. The martialists of the human tribe cried out in alarm. The sacred masters and sacred masters were also shocked. Yi Wudao, Wuchen, Gu Santong, and the great Xia prince of the younger generation were also stunned. Morong Qingqing and Shen Jingxiu were also shocked. It was indeed Big Brother Xian. Big Brother Lin Xian, I knew it was you. The two of them had already guessed it. They weren't too sure, but now they were sure. On the other side, the 10,000 ancient races were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood. Especially the primordial sages, their faces turned green. If the other party was a super strong cultivator, they would admit defeat. After all, the human clan had been in business for so many years. They would definitely have one or two extremely terrifying saints. However, the other party did not have a strong background, nor was he a super expert that had been passed down since ancient times. He was just a young genius. He was a young junior. How many years could he have cultivated for? More than 100 years? However, such a person was actually able to trample them underfoot and beat them into pieces. How could they tolerate this? Damn it! Damn it! Those immemorial kings roared like they had gone mad. The faces of these ancient saints turned cold. No, this kid couldn't be a real saint. He must have obtained power for some reason. No matter what, he had to kill him first. No one can provoke us, and no one can stop us. The human race must be destroyed. No matter how powerful a saint was, he would not be able to stop them. The expressions of the primordial sages were cold. So what if the other party was strong? As long as it wasn't the motherfucking human king, who was resurrected, no one could stop them. Let's go. The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons took a deep breath. Then 3 figures walked out, suppressing the world. Endless laws danced in the air as the humans screamed. The 3 great sage attacked, and they were saints from the nest of 10,000 dragons, Divine Phoenix Ridge, and Fire Qilin Cave respectively. The 3 royal families were going to join forces. Shameless. How dare you fight 1 against 3? And you even beat up our young geniuses? Have all of you primeval saints been living like dogs all this time? That's right. What noble bloodline! High and mighty! You're worse than ants! Shameless to the extreme. The people below screamed crazily. This was too disadvantageous for Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression was also solemn, although he had fused with a greater success divine body now. After all, this body had been dead for tens of thousands of years, and the other party was a saint of the 3 royal families. If they joined forces, they would definitely pose a huge threat to him. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath. Senior, it seems like you're going to use your divine ability. I know. The 9 Sun Sword Saint's voice sounded from his soul. Then use it. I will use the last bit of my life to make a contribution to the human race. Previously, Lin Xian didn't use his divine ability when he fought with those ancient saints. Therefore, he didn't consume too much of the 9 Sun Sword Saints' soul. But now it was different. In the face of 3 primeval saints who came from the royal family, he had to use some great divine abilities. Using great divine abilities would consume the 9 Sun Sword Saints' soul. Therefore, Lin Xian's expression was incomparably solemn. He had to think carefully about every step and every divine ability. He couldn't waste them. In the sky, the 3 saints floated over and surrounded Lin Xian. Warski's powerful divine consciousness danced in the air, forming a special world that completely enveloped Lin Xian. Wind. The saint from the nest of 10,000 dragons was a middle-aged man. His expression was very cold, and the green scales on his body carried a heavy aura. With a cold shout, a violent wind blew between heaven and earth. The entire world turned into a green storm, as if it was about to destroy the world. The law of wind. This saint comprehended the law of wind. Everyone cried out in alarm. Below, the Jade Lake sacred ground was also on the verge of collapse. as if it would be overturned by the violent wind at any moment. Fortunately, the many saints worked together to suppress the Jade Lake. But other places weren't so lucky. Hundreds of thousands of feet tall mountains were instantly razed to the ground. Countless cracks appeared on the ground, and one black hole after another formed in space. Lin Xian suffered even more intense attacks. Each of those wind blades carried runes and laws. They could easily kill the sacred leaders and sect masters. They could even pose a great threat to the lives of saints. At this moment, they were charging towards him from all directions. Through their previous observation, these ancient saints discovered that the other party hadn't used the divine chains of laws. This made them suspect that the other party didn't know any laws. However, the other party's close combat was very terrifying. Therefore, they wouldn't engage in close combat with the other party. The three saints attacked with laws from afar. The laws of the three of them were extremely terrifying. In addition to the wind laws of the nest of 10,000 dragons, there was also the fire laws of the Fire Qilin Cave, the cloud laws of the Divine Phoenix Ridge. All of them charged towards Lin Xian. Not good, that kid is in danger. The powerhouses on the human side cried out in alarm. That's right, he was powerful in close combat, but his laws were weak. This point was also discovered by those ancient saints. They didn't know if Lin Xian could contend against them. Everyone started to worry. The 10,000 ancient races sneered. That kid is dead for sure. Just you wait, he's finished. Under the three great laws, he will definitely die. Boom! Boom! The three great laws enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's eyes erupted with a cold light. In the next moment, he took a deep breath, and the light and flames on his body jumped, forming a long sword. He held it in his hand. Chapter 2869. A terrifying aura erupted and soared into the sky like a peerless divine sword. The terrifying light was like a wave, causing the entire sky to boil. What was that? Everyone felt their hearts skip a beat when they saw this scene. Even the sages' eyelids twitched wildly, and their scalps went numb. The reason for that was because that aura was simply too astonishing. In the sky, the world formed by the three great laws was torn apart in an instant. An earth-shattering light shone so brightly that everyone couldn't open their eyes. Tao patterns flickered all over the sky, divine chains danced in the air, and a terrifying sword cry echoed between heaven and earth. This was the power of laws. In the Jade Lake sacred ground, the sacred leaders, sect masters, and grand elders trembled in shock. In the distance, the primordial kings were terrified. Laws, the other party actually used the laws. Damn it, how is this possible? The other party wasn't a melee expert and didn't know how to use the laws? They were truly stunned. Didn't know how to use the laws. You guys are really naive. Previously, you guys were too trash, so I disdained to use the laws. Today, I'll let you see what a true law is. Lin Xian snorted coldly. As he spoke, the golden sword fell crazily, bringing with it endless laws. Damn it, block it for me. The three primordial sages roared. The wind law, fire law, and cloud law quickly charged forward. Boom! Boom! The four great laws collided in the sky, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. Endless Tao patterns flickered, each of them capable of killing a sacred leader. So what if he had the laws? He wasn't a match for the three great sage at all. Those primordial kings comforted themselves. But in the next moment, they fainted from fright. Because in the sky, the three great laws were broken once again. A cold sword light illuminated the entire world. The three sages all vomited blood and were sent flying. Among them, the sage of the nest of 10,000 dragons had an arm cut off, and the sage of the Fire Qilin Cave was cut in half at the waist. The sage of the Divine Phoenix Ridge was split in half. They were injured, damn it, the three great sage were all injured. This was impossible. I don't believe it. Those primordial kings screamed crazily. The other primordial king's pupils constricted. How was this possible? How could the other party be so powerful? One sword strike injured the three great sage. What kind of law was this? What method? The human experts were equally shocked. The sacred leader of the Yi family and the patriarch of the Gu family gasped. It was too terrifying. They were extremely shocked. Could it be that this was the legendary nine-yang sword art? It was really possible. The other experts also cried out in surprise. Was the long-lost nine-yang sword technique about to reappear in the world? It was truly shocking. The nine-yang divine body had disappeared for tens of thousands of years, so the nine-yang sword technique was naturally lost as well. Some time ago, Lin Xian displayed the nine-yang divine body, which shocked the world. Many experts were envious and wanted to obtain the cultivation method of this physique. However, what surprised them was that although Lin Xian was a peerless swordsman, he had never used the nine-yang sword technique before. Everyone guessed that Lin Xian might not have obtained the cultivation method of the nine-yang sword technique. This made everyone feel regretful. The reason for that was because the nine-yang sword technique was one of the most frightening sword techniques in the world. It was extremely masculine and filled with boundless power. As soon as the sword technique was unleashed, the sword burned the 9 heavens and split the heaven and earth. It could be said that its power was extremely terrifying. Now the crowd was finally able to witness the long-lost sword art in Lin Xian's hands. The nine-yang sword technique was the human race's nine-yang sword technique. On the other side, a saint of the 10,000 ancient races also spoke in a deep voice. This was the saint of the blue ghoul race. His expression was abnormally gloomy. At this moment, there were countless green laws around him, forming ghost heads that blocked the sword energy that filled the sky. However, those ghost heads were suppressed until they were dim. Damn it! The power of masculine and masculine is my natural counter. The saint of the blue ghoul race gritted his teeth. That's right. He was from the blue ghoul race and cultivated an evil power. As for the nine-yang sword technique, it was the power of masculine and masculine. Previously, when the other party used the nine-yang divine body, he had already noticed this. He didn't expect it at that time. However, when he saw the sword light, he immediately screamed. The nine-yang sword technique was already very famous before the 10,000 ancient races fell into hibernation. Human experts who cultivated the nine-yang sword technique could also compete with them. Who would have thought that they would encounter this sword technique again after awakening? Damn it, he's the successor of the nine-yang. Kill him, we must kill him. The saint of the blue ghoul race roared crazily. The other saints also had serious expressions. During the 10,000 ancient races, the 10,000 ancient races were strong while the human race was weak. However, the human race hadn't been destroyed. The reason was that the human race had several peerless experts. Although there weren't many of them, their strength wasn't any weaker than the 10,000 ancient races. They could even suppress the 10,000 ancient races. Back then it had caused a huge shock. However, what made the 10,000 ancient races let out a sigh of relief was that there were simply too few such human experts. They could be said to be as rare as phoenix feathers and Chilan horns. If there were a little more of such experts, the human race wouldn't be an ant-like existence anymore. It would definitely be one of the strongest races. Back then, those human great emperors hadn't appeared yet. However, there were a few people who were still fresh in the minds of the 10,000 ancient races. One of them was the Saint Body. Back then, he already had a greater success Saint Body. Although he didn't become a great emperor, the power of the Saint Body was still fresh in their memories. The second was the successor of the nine-yang, the nine-yang divine body, and the nine-yang sword art. Back then, he had dominated the world and killed many 10,000 ancient races. This was something that the 10,000 ancient races would never forget. The third was the successor of the nine-yin. The nine-yin and nine-yang were two very ancient cultivation methods of the human race. However, the successor of the nine-yin had long been lost. The two ancient inheritances of the human race were slow, and everyone thought that they had disappeared. They didn't expect that they would appear now. Therefore, these 10,000 ancient races were very ferocious. They didn't allow the successor of the nine-yang to appear, because the shadow that the successor of the nine-yang had caused back then was too great for them. Lin Xian was equally astonished. To be able to injure 3 saints with a single slash, the swordsmanship was truly terrifying. Huff! The nine-yang sword saint's soul slowly exhaled. He was much weaker than before. Lin Xian hurriedly took out a treasure. Senior, quickly consume it. The 9 Yang Sword Saint's soul was enveloped by countless treasures. Kid, this is the 9 Yang Sword art. I can only use one move now. You have to watch carefully. If you miss any move, the 9 Yang Sword art will really be lost. The 9 Yang Sword art? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. He had wanted to obtain this sword art before, but he hadn't been able to find it. He didn't expect that he would be able to use the 9 Yang Sword art personally now. His eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Senior, don't worry. I will definitely remember it. I will definitely not let the 9 Yang Sword art be lost. Very good. The 9 Yang Sword Saint's soul was gratified. You have already sensed the power of the greater success 9 Yang Divine Body. I will also impart the cultivation method of the Divine Body to you. Chapter 2870. Who would have thought that it was actually the lost successor of the 9 sons? The 12 ancient saints' faces were gloomy. So what if it's the successor of the 9 sons? Back then, you weren't an invincible existence. Now, you're still not a match for the 10,000 ancient races. You're still far from it. The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons snorted coldly. The aura on his body was completely released, and his dragon head was incomparably ferocious. Dragon blood surged, causing everyone to tremble. Dragons were indeed worthy of being the top existences. The power of their bloodline had already reached a level that made people despair. In the next moment, in the endless storm, green dragons danced in the wind, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they charged towards Lin Xian. On the other side, 9 fire cheilants also appeared. The 9 heads were incomparably huge, and the flames on their bodies were even more terrifying. This was a unique move that could already kill a saint. Feng Qin, the female saint of the Divine Phoenix Ridge, took out a guqin and played it non-stop. The sound of the guqin tore through the sky and earth, causing everyone to vomit blood. Between heaven and earth, a terrifying demonic sound howled as it also enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly as he brandished the 9 Sons sword technique and quickly charged over. In the sky, the azure dragons were chopped into pieces one after another. The terrifying fire cheilants were also beheaded. The terrifying phoenix cry and demonic sound were also destroyed by his sword. Roar! Not only that, in addition to the 9 Sons sword technique, there was also an earth-shattering dragon roar that resounded through the world. Boom! The dragon blood in the sky surged and even dimmed. Damn it! The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons' expression changed. Great Dragon Sword Soul. This kid also had the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Indeed, everyone knew this before. Lin Xian had the Great Dragon Sword Soul with unparalleled attack power. It had once attracted the pursuit of countless powerhouses and finally disappeared. When he reappeared, he brought this terrifying 9 Sons divine body back to the world. No one knew what he had experienced in between. However, everyone knew that Lin Xian must have obtained a heaven-defying opportunity. In the previous battle, the 9 Yang divine body and 9 Yang sword technique were too terrifying. It made them forget that Lin Xian originally had the Great Dragon Sword Spirit. Only now did the dragon cry resound throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Did everyone remember? Even the soul of the 9 Sun Sword Saint was trembling with excitement, let alone the humans and the primordial saints. Great Dragon Sword Soul. I didn't expect you to be the successor of the Great Dragon Sword. Kid, if you can resist the dark turmoil, your future achievements will definitely be much higher than mine. The soul of the 9 Sun Sword Saint smiled in relief. Perhaps you can really reach the peak of martial arts. As he spoke, his soul began to spread out. The 9 Yang sword technique in his hand became even more terrifying. Let's see what kind of power the Great Dragon Sword Soul can display. The 9 Sun Sword Saint's soul was very happy. This was because he had naturally heard of the power and legends of the Great Dragon Sword Soul. It was just that he had never had the chance to see it before. Now, he did not expect that the young man in front of him would have the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Then when combined with his 9 Yang sword technique, how powerful would it be? No one knew. However, it would definitely surpass the 9 Yang sword technique alone. Before he died, he would be able to experience the great dragon sword soul, which had the highest attack power. The Nine-Sun Sword Saint was very excited. Buzz! An extremely cold sword light erupted from Lin Xian's body, and a fire dragon flew out. This was formed by the fusion of the great dragon sword soul and the Nine-Yang sword technique. After this fire dragon, 17 more fire dragons appeared. In the sky, 18 fire dragons spewed out and directly sent the 3 great sage cultivators flying again. Not only that, but the bodies of the 3 great sage cultivators split open and were ignited. They screamed in the sky. The sky was filled with divine chains that pierced through the 9 heavens. However, they could not extinguish the flames. The terrifying laws were useless, but they could not heal their bodies. Today, I will kill a saint. Lin Xian held the killing sword in his hand and strode forward. Every step he took cracked the void. No, damn it. The ancient saints retreated crazily. Their bodies were still torn apart, wrapped in clouds of blood mist as they fled into the sky. There was nothing they could do. The Nine-Yang sword technique was too cold. The sun-like flames on it burned them, until they were in an incomparably miserable state. They could not be erased in a short period of time. What made them even more terrified was that the other party's sword energy was too sharp, and there was an indestructible will left on it. They knew that this was the power of the great dragon sword soul. They had to quickly use the power of laws and Dao runes to erase this indestructible will. However, Lin Xian's speed was too fast. In an instant he arrived near them. The 3 ancient saints were scared out of their wits. The primordial creatures in the distance roared, "Damn brat, stop! Patriarch, run!" They cried out crazily. These ancient races had never thought that one day, their saint would be hunted down. Seal! A thunderous sound echoed between heaven and earth, shaking the surroundings. Immediately after, Lin Xian's body was fixed in midair. Countless black Dao runes surrounded him, imprisoning the entire void. Immobilization technique. It was the 6-eared divine monkey race. The Yi family's saint exclaimed, "That's right. Among the 12 saints, one of them was a divine monkey. It held an iron rod in its hand and had boundless strength. Moreover, it knew the even more strange immobilization technique. At this moment, it was the thunderous sound from its mouth that directly immobilized Lin Xian. Kill! The other sages also made their moves. A black iron rod appeared out of nowhere, flickering with terrifying laws as it blasted toward Lin Xian. On the other side, the void trembled, and a sickle slashed down like a blood moon. Whoosh! 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 A cold wind blew, and ghost heads filled the air. Each of them could devour a saint. This was the great divine power of the blue ghost race's saint. In an instant, these ancient saints all used their ultimate techniques and charged toward Lin Xian. They had gone too far. On the human side they roared crazily. The Gu family's saint snorted coldly. "Do you think you're the only ones who know how to attack?" The power of the void on his body trembled, and endless laws danced. Instantly, apart from the black Dao runes around Lin Xian, another black hole appeared and completely swallowed him. In an instant, Lin Xian disappeared from the spot. The moment he disappeared, the place where he was shattered by the saint's attack. Void technique. Damn it! These ancient saints roared crazily, and turned to stare at the Gu family's saint below. The Gu family had produced a void emperor before, so they naturally knew the void palace technique. This kind of spatial technique was unpredictable, and was indeed a headache. They didn't expect the Gu family to save them at the most critical moment. That kid? Damn it, keep an eye on him. I can't let them attack anymore. The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons roared. In the sky, the 10,000 dragons diagram emitted a powerful aura that shook heaven and earth. It instantly stared at the jade pool. The people in the jade pool felt cold, as if they would be killed at any moment. Damn it, was this an extreme weapon? Even the sage's body began to tremble. Chapter 2871. After suppressing the jade lake below, the primordial saint's gazes pierced through the void, trying to find Lin Xian. Soon, they controlled the azure dragon and struck out with a law. Instantly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Lin Xian appeared in front of everyone again from the endless void. Kid, let's see how you escape this time. You're dead meat. Kneel down and repent obediently. The primordial saints sneered. The six-eared divine monkey was still worried. It shouted 3 times in a row, and used its great divine ability. The sky was filled with black law trash, completely sealing Lin Xian. This time you can't escape. The primordial saints attacked again. Not good. The human martial artists of the Jade Lake sacred ground below were filled with despair. Could it be that Lin Xian was going to die? After all, it was too difficult for one person to fight against so many primordial saints. Moreover, the other party had been frozen by the great divine ability, and could not dodge at all. Could the other party's 9 yang divine body withstand the laws of so many saints? They did not know. They were extremely nervous. In the sky, the laws that filled the sky turned into streaks of divine consciousness that quickly charged toward Lin Xian, wanting to pierce through him. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You want to freeze me with a mere immobilization technique? With a furious roar, countless sword lights rushed out from his body. Boom! Boom! The sword lights were extremely terrifying. They flickered with astonishing power, and instantly shattered all the surrounding black runes. Kill! Lin Xian let out a furious roar, as he unleashed the 9 Suns sword technique once again. Accompanying it was the power of the great dragon sword soul. Under this attack, the surrounding runes were reduced to ashes. The primordial army vomited blood and retreated, their faces filled with fear. Leave this place quickly. They also took out their sacred artifacts, and the 10,000 dragons diagram shone down and enveloped them. Only then did they save their lives. Lin Xian sneered. He waved the long sword in his hand and swept it in all directions. His body was unparalleled, and he was not afraid of the aftershocks at all. However, the saints felt their scalps go numb. Damn it, he actually broke the immobilization technique. The 6-eared divine monkey's expression was ugly. How could the other party be so strong? Immobilize! Immobilize! Fix! He shouted coldly again. Black laws covered the sky, but they were mercilessly wiped out by Lin Xian's sword light. Was the fixed body spell very satisfying? Should I beat you up first? Lin Xian stared at the 6-eared divine monkey. The sword slashed out like a huge dragon slashing down from the sky. Clang! The 6-eared divine monkey raised the black iron rod in its hand and faced the incoming attack. Although the black iron rod looked unremarkable, it was a true saint weapon. It was engraved with densely packed Dao runes. At this moment, it was like a black mountain that was rampaging through the sky. Pung pung pung. There was an earth-shattering collision. In the next moment, the 6-eared divine monkey's palm was smashed open by the force, and the black iron staff was sent flying. One of his arms was also shattered by the sword light. It was too terrifying. How terrifying was Lin Xian's sword chi? Even if the 6-eared divine monkey were to use a saint weapon to fight against him, it would still be no match for him. You want to leave? Seeing that his opponent was retreating, Lin Xian followed up with another slash. With a slash, the 6-eared divine monkey was split in half. Blood rained down from the sky, as the 6-eared divine monkey fled like a madman. The 2 halves of its body quickly merged in the distance. Kill! Lin Xian roared again. His terrifying voice resounded through the 9 heavens. He held the divine sword in his hand and charged forward like a peerless god of war. Today I will kill a saint. He stared at the Silver Electric Tribe's saint. Lin Xian already had a grudge against the Silver Electric Tribe, so he wanted to make an example of him. This time, he would not simply defeat his opponent. He wanted to kill him completely. Only the death of a saint could hurt the 10,000 Archean tribes and intimidate them. Damn it! Get lost! The Silver Electric Tribe's saint was so scared that his scalp went numb. His opponent was actually coming for him. This made him both shocked and angry. On one hand, he was terrified of his opponent's strength. On the other hand, he was extremely angry. What was his opponent trying to do? Was he looking down on him? He quickly retreated, and a pair of lightning wings appeared on his back. They were completely formed by the laws. What he cultivated was the law of lightning. Lightning was not only violent in its attacks, but it was also extremely fast. Therefore, at this moment, after the law of lightning formed wings, the Silver Electric Tribe's saint's speed reached the limit. No one below the saint level could see him clearly. Even the sacred leaders and sect leaders could not see him clearly. They could only see blurry balls of light shining in the sky. So fast. Among them, the human saints were extremely shocked. In terms of speed, the Silver Electric Tribe's saint did indeed have a unique advantage. Let's see how you're going to hurt me, kid. The Silver Electric Tribe's saint moved quickly and appeared in various directions in the sky. At the same time, he did not idle around. A silver lightning hammer appeared in his hand, and he kept swinging it. With every strike, apocalyptic lightning would descend and shatter the void. Terrifying runes interweaved in the sky and attacked Lin Xian, using the laws to attack from afar. This Silver Electric Tribe's saint was really experienced. The saints of the human race sighed. Lin Xian frowned. He did not want to waste time with his opponent, because the Nine Sun Sword Saint's soul could not hold on for long. He had to end the battle quickly. In the next moment he snorted coldly. You think I can't do anything to you just because I'm fast? How naive. 9 suns open the sky. This was one of the ultimate techniques of the 9 sun sword technique. A fiery red light soared into the sky. A huge flaming sword shadow soared into the sky. It covered the entire sky. At this moment, every inch of space was filled with the 9 sun sword chi. There was nowhere to hide. As expected, the Silver Electric Tribe's saint was also forced back. No matter how fast he was, he could not dodge. Unless he knew the Gu family's Great Void technique and hid in the universe. Unfortunately, he did not know how to do that. Therefore this time, he revealed his true form. Humph. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his sword chi and instantly shattered the other party's wings of lightning. With a crack, the laws in the sky shattered. The Silver Electric Tribe's saint spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Damn it, attack together and kill him. The saint roared crazily. He was no match for his opponent at all. Sure enough, when they heard that, the other saints also attacked. The primordial kings also joined forces in the distance. Together with their ancient treasures, they formed a peerless killing formation and attacked from afar. Lin Xian continued to wave his sword. Divine flames surged in the sky, shattering the peerless formation that had just been formed. Many primordial kings were also killed. The primeval saints in the sky felt their hearts bleed at the sight of this. Buzz! Golden light appeared under Lin Xian's feet. He quickly dodged and avoided the laws of the saints. He quickly chased after the Silver Electric Tribe's saint. The Silver Electric Tribe's saint condensed his lightning wings again, trying to escape. Lin Xian shouted coldly. Freeze! Chapter 2872. The six-eared divine monkey was also stunned. He shook his head and said, It's not me. If it's not you, then who is it? Everyone was stunned. It's that kid. What did you say? It's that kid. Lin Xian. The humans and the 10,000 ancient races were stunned. Lin Xian was sure. What was he doing? The Silver Lightning race's saint was also shocked. He sneered. Kid, do you think you can scare me like this? Seriously. Before he could finish his sentence, he was stunned. His expression was one of horror. Damn it, how is this possible? I can't move. He screamed crazily. Was he really frozen? The people of the 10,000 ancient races were stunned. The human cultivators were also stunned. How was this possible? Wasn't that the six-eared divine monkey's divine ability? Damn it, the dragon sword soul simulated everything. It was the power of the dragon sword soul. The saint of the nest of 10,000 dragons roared crazily. Kill him quickly, we have to kill him quickly. Everyone rushed toward Lin Xian crazily. A pair of golden wings appeared on Lin Xian's back. Golden runes shone on them. As his wings flapped, his speed instantly increased. Oh no, he's imitating the wings of a lightning Dao divine ability. The Silver Lightning race's saint's pupils constricted, and his expression was extremely ugly. These golden wings were exactly the same as his lightning wings. The other party was using the dragon sword soul to simulate his divine ability. Moreover, he wanted to use this divine ability to kill him. Damn it! He roared crazily and wanted to struggle, But in the next moment, his body was cut in half. The Tao patterns on the pair of golden wings were surrounded by divine chains. They were incomparably sharp. In an instant, the Silver Lightning Race's saint was cut in half. The Silver Lightning Race's saint screamed and wanted to heal. The five-colored divine lightning around him exploded, forming a terrifying energy that blasted away the immobilization technique. He quickly fled into the distance. However, not long after he flew, he was slapped down by Lin Xian. Lin Xian's palm covered the sky and earth. It was like a golden mountain that carried the laws and directly slapped the other party's body into a bloody mist. If it were any other cultivator, they would have been killed long ago. However, saints were so powerful that they could be reborn with just a drop of their blood. Therefore, even though his body was shattered, the Silver Lightning Saint still managed to escape. Thor's shield. He formed 9 shields in front of Shen Tian, and then his body reassembled. Peng. Lin Xian brandished his long sword. The 9 Yang sword technique flew out and shattered the 9 Thunder God shields on the spot. The terrifying energy pierced through all directions, forming one black hole after another. Wang. He pointed his finger, and his sword chi exploded the head of the saint of the Silver Lightning Race. Damn brat, I'll fight it out with you. The saint of the Silver Lightning Race roared like a madman. His body had already been shattered dozens of times by the other party. He had never been humiliated like this before. He decided to burn his own bloodline power to kill his opponent. But in the next moment he was scared out of his wits. That was because the power of the great dragon sword spirit had exploded forth, causing his body to be unable to heal. Not only that, even his soul had been injured. 9 Sun's soul extinguishing. It was another ultimate move of the 9 Yang sword technique. The 9 Yang divine fire that filled the sky surged and engulfed the Silver Lightning Saint's soul. Ah! The saint of the Silver Lightning Race screamed like a madman. His soul was burning. Damn it, put it out! An endless sea of lightning appeared on his body, trying to extinguish the divine fire. However, he could not do it. The divine fire carried a monstrous power and a terrifying aura of destruction. The other sages also stepped forward one after another, wanting to lend a helping hand. Wang. Lin Xian's long sword swept in all directions and cut 2 saints in half. The other saints were also forced back and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Senior, let me borrow your laws, Lin Xian said in a low voice. In the next moment, endless laws enveloped him. After the great dragon sword spirit gained the power of the laws, it roared as if it had come to life. The saint of the Silver Lightning Race's soul was severely injured and was cut in half. Lin Xian swung his sword a few more times and completely destroyed the saint of the Silver Lightning Race's soul. Now that he had obtained the power of a saint, the might of the great dragon sword soul that was activated in the state of a saint was truly terrifying. The saint of the Silver Lightning Race was killed without being able to put up any resistance. Ruffian Long, think of a way to collect the saint's blood, Lin Xian said. In the formation below, Ruffian Long quickly gathered the Queen Mother of the West and the Patriarch of the Yi family to collect the blood of the Silver Lightning Race's saint in the sky. Damn it! Patriarch, this is impossible. The ancient army had gone crazy. Has a saint fallen? Endless blood flowed wildly between heaven and earth. The sky split open, forming a huge fissure, and blood rained down. Heaven and earth mourned. The fall of a saint was an extremely terrifying matter. After all, a saint had transcended heaven and earth and comprehended the laws. It was very difficult to become a saint. Among the countless invincible kings, there might not even be one. However, once a saint became one, it would be very difficult for them to fall. It was said to be reborn from a drop of blood. Therefore, although the soul of the Silver Lightning Race's saint had been destroyed, the sea of blood in the sky roared crazily. Boy, do you really think you can kill me? What? He's not dead, the dark red dragon exclaimed. The saint's blood that he had just collected, and the treasures that contained the saint's blood exploded. He was almost caught in the explosion, and he quickly retreated to the jade pool. The other sacred lords could only give up. He's not dead. He's not dead. His soul has been destroyed, but he's still alive? Is this what a saint is like? Could it be that they were immortal? Lin Xian's face was gloomy. The 9-Sun Sword Saint's soul sighed. A saint being reborn from a drop of blood was not a legend. Their blood contained everything. It even carried the inheritance and soul imprint. Therefore, even if his soul was destroyed, he would not be killed. Sure enough, the blood of the saints in the distance reformed into a saint. It was the Silver Lightning race's saint. His face was abnormally pale. His killing intent soared into the sky. Great, the patriarch is not dead. The ancient army heaved a sigh of relief. The other saints also sneered. Boy, I don't know how you obtained your power. However, you don't understand saints at all. Do you really think you can kill a saint? With just you? You can't do it. Can't do it. You think too highly of yourselves. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Isn't it just rebirth from a drop of blood? Watch me destroy all your blood. He shouted coldly, and the 9-Sun divine body shone brightly. The 9-Sun sword covered the sky and earth, forming a world of laws that enveloped the Silver Lightning race's saint again. Boom, boom, boom. The 9-Sun divine fire combined with the dragon sword soul turned into a flaming dragon that burned the Silver Lightning race's saint. Ah! This time, not only was his soul ignited, but his body was also burning fiercely. The blood was evaporated. Then, it was destroyed by the sword chi and evaporated again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.